There you go. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and call our council study session meeting to order today, Monday, June 1st, 2026 at 6 p.m. For the record, all members of council are here with Councilor Dolan zooming in, and Counselor or Deputy Mayor Hart did message Pat and I that she was going to be on Zoom, but as of now, she still isn't on, Jafet? Just confirming. Okay, okay. Oh, she just messaged that she's coming on here soon. Um, is it okay if we move on and wait till she comes on? And wait if she comes on? I'm sure she is. She just messaged. So we should see her popping up online. And then also for the record, we got staff here. We got Heath. We have Hector Mejia. Corey, nice to see you. And we have Jafet. We have Monica Hofstetter zooming in as well. Anybody else that I'm missing for staff? Okay. Council, we have a few items for discussion today. We do have a presentation, and we have the folks here in the audience with us that are going to provide that presentation. On the agenda, they are listed a little later, but given that the finance update budget amendment items, item A, might take us a little longer. Is there any objection with moving them up and then moving the finance update just down?
No.
One item?
No objection.
Okay, so with no objection, we can go ahead and allow you all to approach the podium and introduce yourselves, and then we can go ahead and start your presentation to the council. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Can you hear me fine?
Yes.
My name's Rose, and I am the Senior Officer of MRJ and Associates, and I'm also the Executive Director of 70x7. So MRJ and Associates is actually a for-profit agency. 70x7 is a nonprofit agency, and I'm actually going to introduce a different entity at the end. I believe they got my PowerPoint, but not too sure if they're in a. Okay,
He's getting that up for you.
okay. Thank you for allowing me to present today, though. Okay, thank you. So as I said before, MRJ and Associates, it stands for Most Reliable Job Network. We actually have, we do employment and housing services, and I'll get more in depth in that here later, but I just want to kind of brag about my team because in 2025, we actually placed 412 individuals. 212 of that is employment services, and then 200 people in housing. So I've been doing this industry for about 17 years, and I never heard those numbers. I'm not saying it just because it's my company, but we really take pride of what we do. Next slide, please. So we actually started back in 2017, and we did communication services with DDA and DVR, with Development Disability Administration and Development Vocational Rehabilitation. So what that is that we work with people with disabilities at first to try to take them out, because like a lot of them are actually isolated and don't do nothing in the public or the community. So we actually do like outings, or even do little clubs. Like we actually have a film club every Tuesday that one of our clients actually hosts at the arcade that we're actually building. And the clients take over. We have nothing to do with it. We just kind of support them, and then they run it as, as their own. So we do a lot of different clubs like that. And so we're trying to do that for the youth, and I'll actually talk about that later. DVR, on the other hand, is more of a short-term employment program. So we're partners with them, and they're from the state. And it's just to kind of go like what the barriers and strengths of the clients are in our program. And we have about 90 days to place them, and if not, then they go into our long-term employment services. Next slide, please. So we are CARF accredited. What that means is just that all of our stuff is up to date, that we have our paperwork, and CARF accreditation actually has us at the highest standards of paperwork just put in place with documentation and things like that. Next slide, please. So we do a lot of employment planning. So we have about 3 phases. Phase 1 is discovering. So we're discovering the individual of their barriers and strengths and skills. And by that, we can do community-based assessment. So we actually partner up with a lot of employers in the community and do like an intensive training and making sure like what will be a good fit for the individual. So we don't only have the individual that's in our program that's our client or our customer. We actually have the employers and the referral sources that are our own customers as well. So we're like the middle person of connecting everybody together. The job placement, of course, is that we actually go into the facility or into the employer and teaching that individual on how to complete the job task based on the employer standards. Job development is developing a site for individuals to make sure that it's a good fit for the employer and the individual that's in our program. Job training, it's almost the same thing as community-based assessment, but it's just a longer process. And community-based assessment is only like 2 weeks, and the job training can be up to 6 months. So, and it's not as intensive as community-based assessment, but we're trying to make sure that they're individuals that are in our program that are actually trying to gain the skill. So like, I'll give you an example. So if a person was in retail, but they want to go into management, so we will do the job training to teach them how to become a manager. So, and it just depends on the individual that wants to move into a different industry or even in a higher position. Job retention, we call it, is job coaching. So it's what I talked about a little bit earlier, is working side by the individual and making sure that it's a good fit for, that we're able to make sure that they're doing the task at hand with the employer and discovering any barriers. So, and then finding accommodations for them. So if an individual needs like a device, like a technical device, then we will try to find the resources to provide that for them. Because we work with a lot of different individuals, not only with people with disabilities, but with people with mental illness or even substance abuse. And the biggest thing that we do that a lot of agencies don't do is job carving. So what that looks like, it's like in a janitorial position. If a lot of individuals don't know how to, if that person does not know how to vacuum, we will carve that position to make sure that they're just doing the window cleaning, taking out the trash, to clean the bathrooms, but not vacuuming. Or we go into an employer and we see that there's some things that are missing. So like if we go to like a Sinclair and we see that there's a lot of mess in the back, well, we try to carve a position for that individual, for an individual that's been through our program, and say, hey, won't you give one of our clients or one of our job seekers 5 hours a week, just so we can grow that relationship with them. And there are individuals that would want to just work 5 hours a week. And so we're walking with them from the beginning to the end. And it's not just the program that, like, it's not just a one fits all. It's a very person-centered. Next slide, please. In our housing program, there are times in our housing that we actually have funding. So in July and January, we actually do have funding to pay for first month, last month's, and deposit. And we can also pay for renter arrears. So if they're in a program for at least 2 months, then we can actually pay for, if they've been behind for 2-3 months, we can pay for that. They're getting a little stricter in our funding, but it's just a case-by-case scenario as well. We don't have this final say-so, but we partner up with a certain resource that will pay for the past arrears, even utilities. So utilities as well. With our Senate Type 7 funding, though, we actually have the Good Samaritan Fund, and I can talk about that when we get to that point. So housing is almost the same thing as employment. It's very person-centered. We identify barriers of why they're behind, if they have to go back to treatment, if they need to learn on budgeting or even life skills, things, or even just finding them a job, because, they just, certain circumstances, they just couldn't do it. We find those resources for them. We are partnered with a lot of different landlords within the Yakima, Benton, and Franklin County. And there's a lot of landlords that trust the name MRJN because we actually, we have a close relationship with the different landlords, and we keep our clients accountable to making sure that they go through the discovery phase before we put anybody in that apartment complex. And it's not only like a permanent position, permanent housing, it can be temporary housing as well, or even back to treatment. And yeah, next slide, please. So like I mentioned earlier, community access is just helping the individuals with disabilities trying to find a purpose or even just some community resource here. In the valley, there's not much in Sunnyside, so we are that, that agency that, if we build it, they shall come. So one of the things at MRGN that we're really good at is building things, and the clubs is one of the things that we'd like to do. Norma Jean here actually facilitates some of them. And so we do facilitate the film club, a coloring club, a walking club. I believe in Tri-Cities, they, can't remember exactly, but they have a thrift club, is what I can remember. But yeah, so we have a lot of different groups that they can join. They have to be DDA individuals though, in order to get in that program. But if they just want to join it, they can. It's not just designated to the individuals that we serve. But it's because we don't want to be segregated from the community. We want to make sure that they're joining within the community. Next slide, please. This is our pre-eds program. So we actually do have contracts to go into the schools and do life skills, do self-advocacy skills, work-based learning experience. So it's pretty much like an internship with these students. It starts at the age of 14. And we are there, it's a group of we have two different programs. So one of them can be individual depending on how significantly much work they need, or just in the group that they can just go, that they're fine on their own. So we do that more in Tri-Cities, but we actually are looking to do it for the next coming year, in 2026, but for the new school year, for the Sunnyside area. And so we place our students at different places, like at Point S and things like that. So, and they're able to get experience while in high school, and then we're hoping by the time that they graduate that they have a job, and it has been successful. And the students have to be from 14 to 21 in order to be in this program. Next slide, please. So our partners here are Comprehensive Neighborhood Health, Family Elijah Homes, Children's Village, and the employers that we work with is some of them that you see here: Klez, Mom's Candy Apple, GameStop, Walmart, Safeway, Rite Aid when they were here, and now 75-7, and a lot of different little mom and pop shops here. Next slide, please. So MRGN Associates serves the counties of Benton Franklin County, Yakima County, and now the County of Chelan. So we have an office in Wenatchee. Next slide. This is the population that we serve. We serve the youth, mental health, drug and alcohol, individuals with disabilities, homeless populations, felons, the Latino community, the Native community, and migrant workers as well. Next slide. So the reason why we actually open up the nonprofit is because you can only do so much with the for-profit. So what we wanted to do is like a training center. So we started with the thrift store. And so we actually have our thrift store here. I believe some of you guys actually came to our open house, and I thank you for that, for the support. And we use the thrift store to do a lot of training, to do cashiering, to do customer service, to do donations, sorting, things like that. It's been very successful. We get a lot of buzz about it. And yeah, we just opened one in Richland. And, we're just hoping that the individuals are in our employment program that do not have any experience, or if they need more experience, that we're trying to do that for them here. Next slide, please. Now, the biggest thing that I'm getting a lot of buzz about is the Infinity World Arcade. Now, everybody's very excited about it. I've been getting a lot of positive feedback about this. The reason why we wanted to do Infinity World is because like I was raised back and forth, Granger and Sunnyside, and there's nothing here in the Lower Valley. So we are actually opening up Infinity World. I'm hoping by July 19th. And it's not just an arcade or a family fun center. We want to really make sure that there's stuff like clubs or even just different environment or different communities in the arcade. So, like my daughter, she loves. Oh my gosh, I forgot the name of it. Manga, I think that's what it's called. It's like comic books, but the Japanese side. So she loves to dress up in the manga outfits. She'll probably kill me if I butcher the name. I think Jujutsu. I can't remember the name, but just things like that because these kids are very different than our generation, and we want to bring that to the Infinity World. And there's a lot of gamers here. It's not just about just playing the arcade because we're gonna have retro, we're gonna have modern, but really bringing families together and bringing little communities into the arcade. And that's one thing with MRGN is 787 that we just wanted to just build something here, especially in the Lower Valley, because there's nothing here. And, it's just something that I wanted to, announce to the city council members and let the city of Sunnyside that we are coming here soon. And in the near future, we're trying to build little communities. And if you guys can just take the flyer that I sent over we've been passing them out like crazy. And, just give your feedback and let us know, like, what do you want to see at the Infinity World Arcade? And yeah, that's it. Did anybody have any questions?
Go ahead, Counselor
Um,
DePavan.
Thank you, Rose, for your presentation. How do individuals get a hold of you, or is it just referrals that you get from other organizations, or people can walk into your?
Yeah, so they can walk into the building or I can even actually send you guys a flyer. I believe I sent some flyers to Pat and they can leave them there at the city hall and they can walk in. Because we're at the old DSHS office or DCYF office right across from the work source. So just keep in mind that they have to have Medicaid services. So anything state health insurance, and they have to have like substance abuse, mental illness, or they have to also like be in some, there are times when we can actually get them qualified if they're sick, like a strong, like an illness, in that type, but that takes a little bit longer.
And what about the thrift store? Can the community drop off? Is there a box that they drop off donations?
Yeah, so we take donations from 11 to 6, Monday through Friday. Well, Monday through Saturday. Yes, thank you for bringing up the website.
Any other questions? I have a question, a couple questions. For the housing, you mentioned that you provide financial support for deposits.
Yes.
What are the requirements?
So they have to be in our program for at least 2 months. And so they have to be enrolled in our program for 2 months. So that is through our partners. But we actually have, thank you for bringing that question up. I did forget that. So we actually have a funding in-house called the Good Samaritan. And so what the Good Samaritan is that it can be anything. It can be like we actually helped individuals get their license. We helped them with school supplies because they're going to go back to school. What else? Recently, we helped an individual get a month of a hotel voucher. So they were able to go in the hotel, and then right after the hotel, they got into permanent housing. So it's a case by case because we want to make sure that they're going to be successful and that, they graduate from our program. It sounds kind of mean in the way, because I used to be an addict about how old is my daughter? 20 years ago. And so, you can't bull crap a bull crapper. So I tell all the clients that I come across, um, I'm not trying to be mean, but I don't want to see you again. I want to make sure that you're successful, that you are, if I can do it, you can do it. So, it's just not me, just like, because if I can get to this point, serving my community and doing good, you can get there too. So, and we actually, on Saturdays, we partner up with the individual who does peer-to-peer. And once in a while, I'll give, he'll tell my story. And so, it's just not just to feel bad for those individuals. It's to really pick them up where they're at. And I appreciate those individuals that actually help me, because we didn't have a lot of programs like we did now. And so it's the individuals that emotionally supported me, but helped me through that that darkness that I was at. And so that's what I'm here for. And with the Good Samaritan, it's a case by case. So like I said before, we have helped people with a month voucher to get into a hotel, so they're off the streets. And it just depends on how they're doing with their program.
Counselor Chavez.
I just, I've done a lot of referrals over to you guys. You guys have done a really good job with a lot of the people that we serve, from mental health to substance use. And you guys have helped one of our individuals go into treatment. So, I can honestly say that you guys have done amazing work. You guys always come back and give us updates on the clients that we do referrals over to. So you guys, good job on that.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Go ahead, Counselor Galvan.
So Council, I was talking to Rose a little bit before the meeting in the lobby, and the conversation came up about the Boys and Girls Club, and right now it's just too expensive, right? And I know the discussion or the comments before is maybe the city partner up with the nonprofit, and that was a question that I asked Rose. Is it something that maybe the nonprofit willing to do, partner up with the city, and
We would love that. We would love to do something like that, because that is where my heart's at, is the youth. When you can capture the youth at a young age, then you can make a huge difference, is what I notice. When you catch them at my age, because I'm 40, it's really hard. It's really hard to change their mind. But when you capture the youth and be that inspiration, be that, that good example to them, it's a life changer. So that's what, my heart is for the youth.
So I guess my question is, Pat, is there something that maybe Rose and their team can come up with a plan and maybe present to the council as to, how they could use the community center as a resource for the community?
We heard that from where did we go? Prosser? Right. We heard from Prosser the advantage that we have by already having a community center, that was a big plus on our part. So I think that finding a partner was part of their success story, is that they had a collection of partners. Of course, they started small, but because we have a facility, we would really be jumping ahead. So George, that's something that we could definitely look into, because we got somebody that has that champion. That's what we talked about. We needed to find a comedian champion to really kind of give a passion and inspiration to this project.
Yeah, so maybe set up a meeting or something.
Counselor Vasquez.
Yeah, and just thank you overall, Rose, for all your work, and thank you for even being willing to say yes, because it takes a lot for someone to have the will to want to do something good, especially for our youth. So thank you for that, and thank you for coming today and for giving this presentation and for just informing the community of all of the resources and all that you do here. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you guys for allowing me to present.
Of course.
Oh, go ahead, Counselor Sasaki.
I just wanted to make a comment. I have a 15-year-old who's like super excited and he's like, Mom, do you know when they're going to open? So now I have a guest of fate because he's already sharing with all his buddies like, oh my gosh, this arcade. And so he's really excited. And yes, again, thanks for the presentation, Elias, this information. So it's amazing work. Sounds like it's a lot of amazing work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, especially with the arcade. This is like the biggest project I have ever worked with, but I can see it now. Like I could just see of how much of an impact it's going to be for our youth. And so, you know, one of my girls, she's 20 years old and she's one of the ones that's running it. She has a huge passion, especially she does our social media for the Sunnyside 7 and the arcade, and she does amazing. And I know that just the things that she does, she can inspire a lot of individuals just want to go into videography or social media management, things like that. So, I mean, there's so much you can do, and we just want to be that example. Like, hey, you know, we're people from Granger that started off, you know, the poor area, and we're able to get to where we're at because we grinded. We, as a family, we grinded, and it's not impossible. It's not impossible to do that.
And one more thing, and you know, it's amazing. It's just not the video games. It's like you wanting to form clubs, you know, where hopefully some of, you know, our teenagers or youngsters feel like a sense of belonging. So that's also amazing, a great idea.
Go ahead, Counselor
And
Vasquez.
just don't forget to invite us to the grand opening. That way
Yes,
we can all
of
hang
course.
out and play and have some fun.
Yes, yeah, people keep asking me which games we're gonna have. I'm like, of course, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, of course. So that's for the old folks like us.
Got excited for the Fruity Ninja.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a couple questions, because I have been getting some questions myself about, actually not the date, but the location for the arcade. And then second, could you talk a little bit more about the pre-ETS program? I know you mentioned that you haven't worked with the Sunnyside School District, but you're planning to. Can you say a little bit more about how that works if you have already partnered with any other school district?
So the way it works is that, because we have to go through DVR services in order to get the okay, you know, so that's a little bit hard, you know, working with the state, they kind of tie your hands a little bit. So in order for us to get in, we have to advocate that there's a lot more individuals that are needing support. So that is our next goal for the new year, is to advocate that there's a lot more individuals that are needing support than the ones that are already getting it now. So that's one thing we actually are really good at, is making noises, especially to the state, and letting them know, hey, there's a lot more students that are getting left behind. So let us come in and do what we do best. So, and then the location of the arcade, it's right in front. So it's the old DSHS office. It's right across the work source. So where Sunnyside 7 store's at, it's right next door.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Counselor Vasquez.
Yeah, so for the DVR, that's the Development Vocational Rehabilitation.
Correct. Mhm.
Okay, and then, so for them to be able to enter into your program, that's all through their insurance as well?
Yes. So, and then they have to, for the pre-eds program, they have to have an IEP. So an IEP is a person with disability. But we don't only do it with them, we actually do it with any individual that are struggling with ADD, ADHD, because we just put them through a different program. They're just not going to get as like the self-advocacy classes, like as a group, it's going to be more individual.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Well, thank you, Rose, for
Yeah.
the presentation, and thank you, Norma Jean, for accompanying her. It's nice to see both of you, and yeah, thank you for being here, and we'll be in touch.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, moving on to item B, since we shifted the discussion items. It's the finance update and budget amendment. And I'll go ahead and hand that over to you, Mr. Haley.
This is Monica's presentation. So she is going to, Monica, are you going to walk through your handouts here or you have
Japhet
your own
has
PowerPoint?
the slides.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So tonight I'm just going to go over and cover an outline of the 2024 completion, 2025 completion and where things are, the status of the ARPA grant, amending 2026, what we have so far and what needs to happen next. So if you want to start with the next slide. So the 2024 annual report has been submitted to the state auditors. There was quite a few issues with trying to get the information together. The journal entries, when the information was pulled out of the current accounting system, Springbrook, and moved into another system and pulled back, the information was jumbled. The finance committee did hear from one of our employees when she came in. During the time it happened, they tried to make people aware of it, but there was a lot of duplications and things weren't correct. And I guess it just kind of sat for a long time. And then during the reconciliation, it made it quite difficult because the cash items didn't match the journal entry items. Go ahead and go to the next slide and I'll explain what that means. So right here is an example, and I have information spelt wrong on purpose. It was supposed to be kind of a pun because the information isn't correct. But so if you look at the amount, so that's the cash dollar. So that's the cash amount that was spent. If you look at the two line items below, that's the journal entry side. So those two line items have to match for it to balance. So what was happening is the cash side said one thing, and then the journal side said another thing. So when I'm going in and I'm trying to reconcile, all I'm seeing is the cash side of things until I hit the button that says, okay, I'm done matching everything to the bank. Let's go ahead and close it. And then when I hit that button, the trial balance comes up and the trial balance has to balance, meaning that the journal entries have to match the cash side and those two things have to equal one another. If those two items don't equal one another, error signs come up and they say there's something wrong here. Well, there was a lot of something wrongs. And so this is an example of what was wrong. So the journal entries on one side, what came across as $212, but what said is being spent is only $52. And so at this point, I have to go, okay, well, was $52 spent or was $212 spent? Well, on the bank side, if I can match it up, then I can know that there was only actually $52. And this wasn't spent, this was actually revenue. Luckily, the expenditures all were able to be matched. It was all the revenue coming in that had the issues. So it was all the money that was coming in. And so if I could match something that came in, then I was able to say, okay, I'm going to trust the cash side and then change those journal entries to delete one of them and put $52. And it's just kind of a hope or a guess that the information line item is correct, meaning that was the $52 actually meant to go to the Pavilion Park rental, or was it supposed to be something else that somebody was renting or a purchase or something else? Because the information, none of it was correct, none of it. And so I just had to go line item by line item through all the errors. And there, like I said, there was quite a bit. There was about 4 months worth of transactions of revenue that came in that had either duplications or had errors. There was over $200,000 of duplications in there that I had to remove out. And a lot of it, for some reason, had to do with the ambulance billing. And so that was a line item that I had spoke with Chief Halbrook about. And luckily we have a third-party biller. So I'm able to pull reports from them to see what like the revenue should be. And so I could match a little more and gauge what that should look like with what they have posted as how much revenue they had collected for us. So knowing that information, I was able to determine that all the other revenue that was posted didn't belong in those sections. So if we go to the next line item, there we go. What ended up happening is we had a bunch of money that I couldn't say it went to any one item. There was no journal entry to match it to. So what that left us was $83,000, a little over $83,000 of revenue that I couldn't allocate to any one fund. So what I ended up doing was I took this information and I set it into the contingency fund as a holder. And the reason why I set it into the contingency fund is because the contingency fund can be used throughout the city. And so unless I sit there and I start trying to go literally every single day by every single receipt with every single person, there's no way to determine if even those receipts were correct because the journals weren't correct. And if I could allocate any of that money to any one fund. So at this point, it's kind of a situation where I hand it back over to the council and say, it's up to you whether you guys would like this to be investigated further to know exactly where that revenue belongs, or if we should keep it in a contingency fund as a holder to be able to use those funds for future uses within any of the fund accounts that need that contingency money. One of my recommendations is if it does stay in that contingency fund, there really needs to be a policy set up for that contingency fund because currently there isn't one. And I know that the contingency fund was spent down before without the council's knowledge. And that is something that shouldn't happen. Some of those funds, they call them like the rainy day funds, or, you know, they have funds that are meant to be kind of a safety net for emergency items. And you don't want to spend those down without having knowledge because you have to have a way of putting that money back into that fund. So again, this is just where I ended up putting it because I am without having an idea of where the revenue came from. I had to put it somewhere. I could put it in a suspense fund as well, but eventually it's going to have to get pulled out of a suspense fund and put somewhere. So if there is any feedback regarding the $83,000 revenue or any questions.
We have questions. Monica, I don't know if you can see. Go ahead, Councilor Galvan.
So I guess Monica and council, my feedback would be is for the time being is to leave it in the contingency plan and kind of lock it in place and not touch it until we finish the 25 reconciliation and have a policy of some sort in place for those funds. So that's just my feedback.
Madam Mayor?
Go ahead, Councilor or Deputy Mayor Hart.
Yes, so that money that's in the contingency fund now, the 83,000 that you put in to the contingency fund, is that in 24 or is that in 25? Because the last reckoning that I saw, it was in 84.
Right, so
When you did when you did the reconciliation of 24.
You mean
that
2024?
2024, that was that 83,000
Yes.
ended up in that contingency fund.
Yes.
Did you pull that forward to go into 2025? Because I did not see it there.
So yes, this is in the 24. And so it is in 25 now, but yes, the 2024 is what had the contingency fund in there. Those funds, I put those in there in 2024 when I was reconciling 24 and closing it out.
So just a second question there, if that's all right, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the second question is then that amount now, which is something around the neighborhood of 95,000, is in our 25 account, since we didn't spend very much money out of the contingency fund last year, does that number move forward to 2026?
Correct.
Has it?
Not yet. There's no beginning balance that has moved. That's going to be further in the slides as soon as I get there.
I'll hold you to that. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Counselor Vasquez?
Yeah, so I would want to lock that contingency fund just because we don't know where the funds are coming from, and you've just been allocating it there from whatever you've been seeing and not knowing, right? If that's what I understood, not knowing like where it should go or where it should
Right.
be.
Once I took all the revenue, that it was basically, you could see that it hit the bank account,
Mhm.
but there was nothing in our accounting system that you could match it with. And the only thing I could match it with was stuff that I knew for sure was not correct. Meaning
Okay.
that I knew for sure it didn't belong in the EMS fund. And that was something I had went to Chief Halbrook about. And we had been pulling reports, and luckily we have a third party biller that we could pull all the records from there. And that was the only thing that that was able to say, okay, we know for sure it's not this fund, and there's no other journal entries that match what it would go to. And so because there's nothing I can say definitively that I know that those funds came from somewhere, I don't feel comfortable just throwing it at something. And so the only place I felt comfortable throwing it was into a contingency fund where it was held for the city.
Okay,
Um,
and if I can,
Go ahead.
yeah, and just also for clarification, you've also been finding these inaccuracies all throughout, not just like one department, correct? This is like throughout like everything.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
So-
it was just from the information being moved from a cash
Mhm.
basis to an accrual based accounting. When
Mhm.
it was moved back, in so the GL numbers aren't the same for the bars accounting. And so when it came back, it really just jumbled it. It was pretty bad.
Okay, so yeah, just I guess for that specific reason, I wouldn't feel comfortable spending those funds. I would also want to lock it in and just wait until everything is finalized and we close every year and we're kind of good and solid, and then just maybe I am very curious if there's time or possibility to investigate, and if not, then just kind of like talk and discuss it as council.
Mhm.
That'd be my preference as well.
Yep. Counselor Galvan?
Monica, can you attribute these errors just to the moving of the accounts, or
Yeah.
who's in charge right now of inputting the current stuff, and do they know how to do it, I guess?
Well, normally that's the finance supervisor that would keep track of that stuff. And so, yeah, I have been doing it as of lately.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
So the money then we've been putting in has been being entered properly. Is that not correct? Since January 2026, we have been reconciling every month.
It was getting done until March.
Has it not gone forward? I understood that the council had encouraged this finance supervisor to continue reconciling the accounts.
No, it did not go forward.
So we're behind again.
Correct.
April, May,
I've
and May.
been working every day to try and get it caught back up.
But wasn't that the thing that Leo was working on with
I'm
his
not,
staff?
I'm not sure.
I don't want it to be redundant. I just want to make sure that the money is being recorded and reconciled every month.
It wasn't, no. Nothing had been put in since March when I left.
Oh, see, I have a real problem with that.
Mayor?
I now have all the revenue caught back up. I spent an entire day going through every single month and catching it back up. So right now it should be where it should be where everything is. I've been trying to get everything back on par.
Monica, I'm gonna go to Counselor Galvan, and then Counselor Dolan raised his hand up on Zoom.
Okay.
Deputy Mayor, unfortunately, you missed the finance subcommittee meeting, and we did talk
Yes,
a little bit
did.
about,
Okay.
what had going on that meeting.
Uh-huh.
It's something that it's been inputted January, February, March, and since Monica has been gone, it hasn't been inputted into the system. So, and we could talk a little bit more after executive.
Thank you.
Okay. Counselor Dolan, go ahead.
I guess I haven't checked it. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So Monica, I thought I heard you mention that I'm not sure totally how to put it. You had mentioned that the returns from our investment that came due in March or came about in March, well, none of that money is what is in that $95,000 or $96,000.
No. Any of the money that I know for sure where it belongs has been allocated correctly. So all of the investment money is easy to track. Those are all easy to track items. So all of that outside of, even if it was jumbled, I can look at the backup. That's one of the things that auditors need to see, is that you have backup items to everything that you're inputting. And so it's important to be able to, like, specifically your investment funds, you want to make sure that those are correct. And so the investment funds are not part of this $96,000.
And where are those investment funds?
They're in the investment accounts. We'll cover those as well in a couple slides.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions around the contingency fund? Go ahead, Counselor Zesati.
Jorge, I don't know, maybe I misunderstood at our meeting, that one of the other employees had started, reconciling in Springbrook since about March. But there was a lack of communication between,
It's not reconciled. They've been inputting the revenues.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Go ahead and proceed, Monica.
Okay, go ahead, the next slide. So ending the 2024 year, the totals, they're in your slide, so you'll be able to see it. I also sent the council the state auditor annual report, so you'll have that as well. The good news is that 2024, the receivables are right on track to what was budgeted. And then the amount spent was not as much as budgeted, so that's always a positive. Next slide. So some notes to the 2024, again, it was found that the bond that was purchased in 2024 actually came directly out of the EMS fund. There were some notes to it. I had done a lot of digging to try and figure out, like, what was being moved and what wasn't being moved. So any of the interest revenues that come out of that specific bond will just go right back to the EMS fund. The way the funds work with any of our investments is normally they're split out of a lot of different funds, and so they get allocated back into the funds that they came out of. So there's a spreadsheet, and I can share it with the council, that it shows the allocation splits. So meaning that when these bonds were purchased, that much money came, that much expense came out of those funds to pay for those bond purchases. So whenever investment comes back in, the allocation has to equally go back into those accounts. So it's separated by quite a few different funds across the city. And when the revenue comes in, you'll see, again, the cash side of it hits our bank, but the revenue side into the GL goes into several different funds. It's not just one fund that it goes into. So the ending balance now has been rolled into the 2025 beginning balance. So that gives us a more accurate reflection of what actually the budget looks like versus the expenses and the revenues. All items for 2024 has been sent to the auditors. And then again, we're going to have a note probably from the auditor with regards to the accuracy of our journals. So that's going to be expected. Luckily, I've been in talks with the auditor, and they know exactly where the city's at. It's good to have a good standing with your auditors and being able to have that communication. The one thing I will note, and it'll probably also be noted in the auditor's report, is normally if you're going to go from a cash-based accounting to an accrual-based accounting or vice versa, you have to notify the auditors. You can't just do that. And the auditors, I guess, were never notified during that time frame. So they were really surprised when I had given them the information that the funds had been moved out of our system into a different system and then moved back. That is something that they did not know about, unfortunately.
Monica?
Mhm.
If I can ask a question. So do we have any idea when the auditor is gonna have, I guess, a field trip to City Hall, and I think it's called the entrance, interview or meeting?
Yeah, so they already, so they did start messaging us, and so everything was submitted May 25th, and then May 27th is when they started requesting information. So what'll happen is, I'll send over, it's a big bulk item of like all of our journal entries and balance sheets. And luckily Springbrook is a pretty basic system. And so the auditors actually can, from behind the scenes, pull the information that they need. Being that the information is not great, they're going to see that part of it. And they'll understand that there's GL issues. And so those are the parts that we're going to just have to talk through and have good reasoning behind how we allocated things the way we did
Go
in the
ahead.
finance.
So I have a follow-up to that. Can you make sure, I guess in the years past, the finance subcommittee has been there to the entrance interview. Can you
Yeah.
make sure that to let us know when that is? And also, do you have any idea, it's just the way that the auditor works, right? From what I found last time, is that they ask the city, hey, what do you guys want us to look into? Do we have any idea what our answer to that is gonna be?
Everything.
Yeah, I've never had them ask what we want them to look at. They normally pull, so normally what happens is they pull our information, and then behind the scenes they have their own way
That's
of
just what I was
configuring
told
to
last time.
get, they do random pulls, and on those random pulls it tells them what other items need to be pulled off of what they see.
Counselor Dolan, I think had his hand risen up.
Monica, is there an officer in the finance department that is responsible for ensuring there's contracts on file for any money taken out of those enterprise funds, or maybe even any other funds that I don't know if, I just wondered if there was some kind of oversight on, has that been done yet, or do we still need to put somebody on that?
I guess I'm not understanding. No money is ever taken out of any of the funds. You only ever have an expense. And so that comes through the finance committee and also through the council. Anytime money is moved, it should be going through the council. It doesn't ever get moved in and out of any of the funds. Even with investment, that's why at the beginning of the year, or might have been the end of last year, we had the investment policy. And that's why I'm recommending also there be a contingency fund policy and how these monies are spent. Any of the monies that are investments or savings need to have policies written with guidelines on how these items can be spent and utilized.
I had read, and it was backed up by a previous council, that anytime any money was taken from any of the enterprise funds or to be used out of any of the enterprise funds, there was to be a document on file stating the amount, when it was taken out, when it was going back in, and the interest rate that fund was charging to use their money.
Yeah, we don't, I am not pulling any in funds out of the enterprise funds.
That wasn't a statement. I'm trying to find out if there is a responsible party for tracking the money that does come out.
Well, there would be if there was funds coming out, it would have to go through the council, and then a document would have to be created to be approved from council and from the finance committee for it to be able to be utilized. But funds shouldn't be getting removed from enterprise funds for any, I mean, if there's investments, that's separate outside of, I guess I'm not understanding what you mean by pulled out of enterprise funds.
Well, because I witnessed it being pulled out of enterprise funds and used for shoring up the general fund for one thing. And, you know, this is things of the past that you weren't involved in, but I'm just curious if we have someone, and is there, I understand there's processes in place that are supposed to be followed, or, you know, there's supposed to be a contract and and the information provided when funds are being used from those. I mean, I witnessed funds being taken out without even the council even hearing about it.
Yeah, that would have to go through a budget amendment. You can't move funds from one fund to another fund without actually having a budget amendment. A fund within, money's moved within its own fund is fine. You don't really have to have, like, if we have $20 for supplies and $15 for services, and I decide I want to move $5 over to my services, we don't have to have permission to do something within the fund because that amount of money is allowed to be within our fund. But if I wanted to do anything outside of taking that money and giving it off to somebody else, then we have to have permission, because the budget that's approved is approved for that fund account. And so every department has their own amount they're allowed to use. And if you are moving funds through different departments or through an enterprise fund to a general fund, that would have to go through a budget amendment.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Galvan.
Monica, on the bond that was purchased in 2024 directly from the EMS funds, is there has to be a resolution for that? And if so, was the resolution stating that these funds were going to come out directly from the EMS fund?
I'm going to be honest, I haven't found a resolution for the bonds being pulled out and put back in and pulled out and used and put. I haven't found. That's why I created the investment policy, was because I couldn't find anything that said when the $5 million came out of the bond maturity and was spent, that there was nothing stating that it wasn't to be reinvested. And that's where my concern was, is normally, again, that would be something that the council would have to approve, because it seems to me like if you're going to put $5 million back into your budget, then you should have a budget amendment for that.
Mhm.
I just have a question. Is this what Councilor Dolan is referring to?
I think what Councilor Dolan is referring to is when the general fund wants to borrow from the EMS fund, and there has to be some sort of a resolution there, because the general fund would be borrowing from a different enterprise fund.
Okay, I was just trying to follow. So Councilor Dolan, was there a specific time frame? I know you said that it predates Monica, but was there a specific time frame in 2024?
It doesn't seem, in the short time I've been on council, that there's been anything brought before us that says and states, well, there's this money's being put here and this money's being used here. And I'm being asked by constituents over and over again, what happened to the money that was invested? And now the investment's all done with, where's the money at? What was it used for? So I have no answers for them until we get, I guess, 24 and 25 reconciled.
Okay. Think any other questions? I was just trying to follow.
I have a question for Monica.
Mhm.
You do have occasions where you have an interfund loan, and that
Correct.
loan is for a specific period of time, and the interest that is charged from that loan is at the market rate for whatever investment that we have, if we pool our money with the county or wherever we invest it. So it's all done by resolution, and it's all done by a specific time frame, and it has to be paid back even if it's within the same entity. So if we're
Yeah.
borrowing from one fund to another, it's like going to the bank. We have to pay that bank back at interest. Is that correct?
Yes. And also so it would not only have a resolution, you would also need to amend your budget because you can't move funds throughout different fund accounts without having both items done. So it seems like if there was money being moved, then it would have to have had a resolution and amendment to the budget. Any other questions?
Any other questions? There's no questions on our end. You can go ahead and
Okay.
proceed.
Next slide. And we'll go into the 2025 reconciliations. So a new account was added to the accounting software to accurately reflect the passing through of the bank account. So I'll explain that a little bit more in detail in just a second. We have 6 different accounts, 7 technically. What that means is we have an operating account, and previously all the credit cards were being mixed into the operating account. In our accounting system, but not in our bank. The court has a court account that keeps all the court and judicial matters separate from the fund account that is our operating account. The same thing with the jail. The jail has jail operations that remain outside of our operating fund. We have a bond account. That's a safekeeping account. It's a separate holder of the funds. The interest passes through that account into our bank account. When you have a trustee that does investing for you, you have a third party. Well, that account is kind of a buffer that passes our money. And then the LGIP, which is our local government investment pool that's held with the Washington State Treasurer's Office. And then we also have a merchant account. We actually have 2 of them. So all of our credit cards pass through 2 merchant accounts. The Express Bill Pay is the majority of the merchant account, but we also have Stripe, which is OpenGov, and a lot of that is utilized by Corey and Hector's area. That's going to be all your permits and items that they take care of with OpenGov. Any questions? Well, let me go a little more into detail about the merchant account. So previously to me starting, what was happening is when all the credit cards were fed into our accounting system, they were fed in every single credit card. And that's not the way it actually runs through our bank. What happens is the merchant account has its own separate bank that it holds all in, and then we go in and we push a button and those funds get transferred into our bank account. Well, what was happening is it was getting really hard for them to reconcile because all of these credit cards were in there with all the other transactions that were happening daily. And so that's, I think, the crux of how the reconciliations started falling behind. I, with the help of Springbrook, went all the way back to, I believe it was November or December of 2023, and we removed all the credit cards out of the system and then put them into its own account within our accounting software. So now when all those credit cards come in, they come in just like they do in real life into their own account, and we do an internal move of the funds into our bank account so that it more accurately reflects how things are done.
Okay. I have a question, Monica. So like for that third party account, right? Those payments are coming in and you said that it holds the money and you have to transfer that money into the bank account. So when you guys would transfer that money, would it be like a daily transfer or would you guys wait it off and be like a weekly transfer or monthly?
So right now what we do is we do it during payroll. So 3 days prior to payroll being cut, we have the funds move over. So that way, it's holding enough money that it
Mhm.
covers our payroll every month.
Mhm.
And it sits in those accounts, and we have a pretty good cycle in the finance team that we got into when I had came aboard. Nobody had moved any of the money out of the account for quite some time, and I ended up moving over $1 million out of the account, which is a lot. And it was pretty amazing that we had that much money sitting there and didn't realize it. So imagine everybody that pays all of their utility bills online and comes to the front counter, and so it was a lot.
Okay, so what is it at right now? Like what have you changed it to now? 3 days
So right now,
before?
when payroll does their payroll, they actually go in and they push the button for it to cycle through. And
Mhm.
so it cycles through into our bank account, and then the accountant on our side recognizes it's there. And
Mhm.
so that way they input it into the system. So that way it's a 2-cycle and 2-person operation, and not just one person. That way we always make sure that this is a smooth flow, and that we have multiple people that can do it. If for one purpose or another, the person that is normally doing the payroll isn't there or isn't there to do the cycle, there's a backup person. And so now we know that every month, 10th and 25th is when the payroll is. So then we have to push the button by the 6th or 7th, and then we have to push the button again by the 23rd.
Go ahead, and then I'll go to Commissioner
Perfect.
Galvan.
I guess I'm just asking just because I know that we might be having some change here soon, and I just want to make sure that like you said, there was a large amount of money just sitting there. It doesn't occur to happen again. Like we don't need that happening, especially
Yeah.
in our situation right now that the city is in. And my other question was going to be, so there's six different accounts here, but you said a new account was added, and which is the new account that was added?
So the new account that was added was actually just added within our accounting system. So what was happening is all of those express bill pay were getting
Mhm.
shoved into the same bank account in our accounting system, not in real life, but in our accounting system.
Mhm.
And so that's what was making it very hard for people to be able to keep up with reconciliations. Because imagine all the transactions that come through in a day on credit cards going into your bank account, where you're also got all this other transactions going through, and then you have to cipher through and try and click, click, click. But then there's some that fall just after 5 o'clock that are going to roll to the next day, but they're on this day, and you're trying to move it to the next day. And so it was really just a very difficult cycle within the accounts to take care of. And
Okay.
so what we did is we
Merge
in
that.
the Springbrook software system, we took it and moved it to where it is now reflects how it is in real life, where it is in its own merchant account, and we just move the lump sum over. And so now
Perfect.
we corrected the system so that the reconciliations can actually run a lot smoother.
Okay, so just for the record, the merchant account is the new one.
Yes, correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
Counselor Galvan had a question, and then I'll go to you, Counselor Chavez.
So Monica, before you left, you were teaching us in the finance subcommittee, and I think you did mention it in front of everybody here in council to keep an eye on the check registry where it says the account number, and then just to confirm, the operating account is number 1, the court account is number 2, jail account's number 3, and it just numbers it down, right? So
Correct.
we might see like a 4, 5, or 6, and now a 7 on the check
No,
registry, or?
I would have to look at it, and you're putting me on the spot because I don't have it memorized. I know number 1 is for sure the operating account. And then gosh, I thought one of them was like, I know they're not in sequential order. And so that's what's odd is I don't
Okay.
believe they might be in sequential order. I might be thinking of a different account, but I didn't think the accounts were in sequential order.
I think the
you-
operating one and the core and the jail might be the way
So
you
they're
have it there,
very,
1,
you
2,
can
3.
tell. So you'll never see, the only accounts that you're going to see on your claims are the operating court and jail.
Mhm.
And the reason why is because those are the only accounts that we can spend out of. So to say,
Okay.
we can write a check.
Gotcha. So the other ones we wouldn't see it in the check
We don't
registry.
ever touch those accounts for expenditures. So those
Okay.
accounts, those bottom 3 accounts, the bond, LGIP, and merchant accounts, are not
Never.
accounts that we can actually pull money out of. The LGIP, per the policy that was created, we have to have council's permission to even touch those accounts.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Howard, Counselor Chavez had a question, and then I'll come to you.
Thank you.
So Monica, we do have two merchant accounts. I see the Express Bill and the Stripe. Who uses more of the Stripe?
It's only used through Corey and Hector's area.
And they're the only
on
ones that touch that?
OpenGov. Yeah.
And when they use that account, it's mostly for?
It's permits. And Hector and Corey could probably tell you exactly what. There is the revolving loans that were set up so that people could make payments online through OpenGov. And so that also, if they do make a payment online, it goes through that system and then we are notified of that payment.
So get some clarification. OpenGov, we can pay our like she said, the permitting for building, plumbing, water services, sewer services, our yard sale signs, temporary vendor, mobile vendors. We have many of them that are able to be paying on there. So that's where we have Stripe. And I believe that was the only reason we were able to use Stripe was because it was the only one that could operate with OpenGov. So
A lot of the commercial.
Yeah.
yes. So
I just wanted to make sure that it's just kind of, for my food of thought, is I just wanted to see where a lot of that was just coming from, but I can see where that's at.
Deputy Mayor Hart had a question, and then I have one.
Okay.
Well, I'm just looking at every week when Mejia and Taylor put in their reports and they have, Corey's, Mr. Taylor's much better about saying how much money is coming in via permits for all the various things that we do permits for. But also it is that they are also going into OpenGov when you're paying for things like renting the pool or renting the park or renting a soccer field. Does that money also go into that particular OpenGov account?
Not that I know of. I believe that is done in person, and in person we could take the credit card, and if they're at the counter, it just depends on what they're utilizing. So
Okay, well,
on Hector's side of the building, there's two different systems they can use, and Jafet has been working to set up the credit cards for the reservations and everything, and Lisa, who's joined that side of the building, will take all those reservations and be able to run it through the credit card. But then we also have the permit technician, Debbie, who's over there. And if you meet Debbie at the counter, well, Debbie's going to be utilizing the Stripe program. So it's both sides over there.
Okay, because for instance, I had someone told me that they were trying to rent the pool via OpenGov and were able to do that. So I'm just wanting to clarify that.
So just for clarification, yes, at one time we did have it in OpenGov, but it became not a nuisance, but it became very challenging for people to maneuver it OpenGov out there. So that's why we went back to just coming in and paying in person, doing obviously the application in person, and instead of OpenGov. Corey and I are working with it to obviously make it much easier. So when we are ready to take it back to OpenGov, reservations for the community center, the pool, all that, obviously we'll bring it to council so we can demonstrate it to you guys, and then we can obviously show the public.
Okay, I just wanted a clarification on that because I know that people, rather than coming in, sometimes prefer to do it online, and if they can do it through OpenGov, but it sounds like you're working out a process for that. So thank you for that clarification.
Yes, and then if anybody does want to rent the reservations for anything, they're more than welcome to email myself or Lisa, and we can send those, and then they can return it right back to us through obviously the email.
Thank you.
Monica, just a little bit ago, you mentioned that you had implemented some guardrails, I guess, in place to streamline the reconciliation of the 6, 7 bank accounts. Can you let the council know where you're at with the reconciliation for 2025, and if this is helping you move any of this along any faster now that we're
Yeah,
in
that's
June?
coming up on I think the next slide.
Okay. And sorry, I know we're on the pool topic. Counselor Hart had messaged me a while ago, earlier today, or actually we were on a call, and she mentioned that somebody was going to be here to talk about the pool rates. And I don't see that person here, but
I can
but I believe it
maybe,
was Miss Aguirre. She's
Yes.
not here, but since we're on the pool topic, can we talk about the pool rates and if the nonprofit rates are on this year's rates, or if that changed somewhere along the way within the finance committee last year?
So, Ms. Aguirre, I did talk to her through email and text. She wasn't able to show up today. I will be asking her to show up our next council meeting. That way we can have a presentation to you guys and obviously let you guys know what she's looking for. So,
Okay.
with nonprofit, correct, it's no longer on our fees. The nonprofit fees for pools were obviously never part of the pool. They were part of the community center. Not sure where the miscommunication came into play prior to myself and Ms. Hofstadter working on the fees when we started working on it. So we obviously corrected that as we moved forward and found out that, obviously with the nonprofit sake, with the pool being the way it is, and we want to make sure that we're utilizing and using the fees up to par.
um,
Deputy Mayor, you wanted to add
yeah,
something before we move on?
if we could. One of the things that it seemed to me that we had a fee for nonprofits renting things. I think during the past year, most particularly, whenever people have wanted to use, say, the community center, if we called it that we were a co-sponsor, then that was waived. The fee was waived. However, when other organizations are wanting to come in and maybe, like say with the swim team, they're a nonprofit organization and we're charging them full rate when before they were getting a nonprofit. I just want to know when the nonprofit was removed from the fee schedule.
The last one that I had seen, so my understanding when Mr. Mejia and I came on is there had been some confusion with the fee schedule prior to us coming on. And what was happening was not one person was keeping track of the fee schedule. What was happening is every department was saving the last one they had. So then when it was being brought to council, it was being brought to council with not all the correct updated amounts. So then when council approved it, it was approved with not all the correct amounts.
Okay.
So when we had last brought it to council, we streamlined it and discussed all the items in a streamlined amount. And we took out, I believe there was like an A, B, C, D, and we moved it to one line item within, I think it was the pool, because the pool previously did not have that ABCD scale. And so due to the cost of how much it is for the upkeep of the pool is why it was moved to a single fee instead of the skewed ABC schedule that had been on there, that was on there and not on there, on there and then not on there on previous schedules.
Okay. So just as a follow-up, so it currently is not in our fees, nonprofit is not one of the fees that are listed on our current list then. I was trying to find it today and I wasn't able to locate it, but I understand that would be correct, that it's not there. We don't have nonprofit scale anymore. Is that correct?
I will look right now.
I have it right here.
and-
So
Okay.
nonprofit is actually coming up to it.
What title is the pool?
Uh, did I miss it?
There it is. Swim lessons. Okay.
Yes.
Swim
Pool
lessons are good.
rentals.
Pool
And
rentals.
so there's a one of the things that was added this year, I don't know that it was not there prior. And so one of the things that we had added this year was the refundable cleaning and damage deposit. That's for every other facility, there was one except for the pool, and damage to the pool could be substantial. So we wanted to make sure that it was consistent throughout all of them. And so that was one of the things that was added, was the damage deposit. Let's see, and I don't see anything with regards to non-profit.
The only place that's
Right.
on the fees is the community center rentals.
Mhm.
You have
Mhm.
Class A, which is the city-sponsored use. Class B is nonprofit recreational program use. Class C is a nonprofit event use, and Class D is any other use. Those are the only classes we have for
Community center.
For the gym and for the
For the-
kitchen, for
correct.
utilizing the community center.
Okay. But we
Thank
don't
you.
have those classes
But
for
we don't have the classes
for the
for
pool.
this pool. Correct.
Correct. And that was because what was going on was the community center was utilized by a lot more people. The pool is there for a short time, and due to the cost of operating the pool, they felt like it should be one price. Because it's not a very substantial price. And so to be able to operate it, we need to be able to bring in some revenue. It's never going to be at what it is to actually cover the cost.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other questions before Monica goes on? Okay. Go ahead and proceed, Monica.
Okay, next slide. Okay, so then the 2025 budget totals are on here, and in these budget totals, you're going to see the beginning balance and the ending balance has been rolled into this.
skip
So this budget total that you're seeing,
Monica, did you skip a page? We're on what remains for 2025, question mark?
okay, I'm not sure. Go back up.
Maybe this is just out of order for us.
Here it is, right there,
No, just,
back one.
Go down one more.
Yeah, that's right.
there it is.
These might be out of order.
Can you click one more,
What's
Jabez?
next on yours?
This might be out of order. Okay, there it
Oh,
is.
there, it- okay. Okay.
Sorry,
No
I
worries.
I voluntold somebody to staple those together and and it was, they were printing as I was doing it and I forgot a page and added it in there and said, I think it goes between these two pages. So kind of what remains for the 2025. So you'll see on there, the beginning balances are now reflected in that 2025. Go ahead and go back up one more, Jafet, so I can see the actual, there we go. So in here, if you look at the contingency fund, it is now there with the amounts totaled, and you'll see that all of the amounts are of revenue and expenses are being accurately reflected into the 25 budget totals. The system that we have doesn't allow you to roll any of the beginning balances forward until you've actually closed the year. You can try and roll them forward, but it's not going to give you accurate information. So you can't really pull in those beginning balances until all the balances are done and the December is closed. So go ahead and go on to the next slide, Japhet, please. So what's left? So all of the bank accounts, GL allocation, they're going to be done next week. I have like 2 months, I think I'm doing where I'm looking at some of the debt. And I just need to make sure the allocations of where funds go. And what I mean by allocations is when we pay, for instance, our capital expense out of the fire department, well, it comes out of the fire department fund and that money gets taken out of the fire department fund and then allocated to that capital revenue. So when at the beginning of the year, when we did our budget, or at the end of last year, when we did our budget, there was ins and outs that I had on there that showed you that this money has to move down to this fund line item because this is where, for instance, where we pay the money for the city bonds that we have. And so those are the things that I have to be able to make sure those ins and outs are done and that the allocations are done. One of the big things that the state auditor, when I met the state auditor actually in person, when I went to my convention, that was the very first thing they said to me. The very, very first thing they said is, have you looked at your allocations? The reason why is because this has been on a note from the state auditor previously, and this is something that has been recommended and requested them for the city to correct. And what that means is there's a formula you have to use when you're doing cost allocation. That formula is, you can find it at the MSRC, you can find it easily. There's rules and regulations on how you do cost allocation. It has not been done previously that way. So that is something that needs to get done before we close 2025, because what's going to happen is they're just going to flag us again and say, you're not doing the cost allocations correctly. You can't take a person and say, well, I'm going to have them work 5% in this area, 5%. It's like the people, for instance, Mary's utility billing. So for utility billing, I can't just put Mary in and say, okay, well, I'm just going to charge all of Mary's payroll to finance. Well, Mary technically doesn't even work in finance. She technically is, if she's doing utility billing, she's working for those cost allocations. So then you have a formula of how you have a weighted average on how you split those, her payroll into those categories. So she would go into the garbage fund, the sewer fund, the water fund, the EMS utility fund, and it has to be done on how many invoices and how much costs and how much time she's spending on each one of those things. Because there's updates for the garbage cans, there's updates for meters that are being done to the water. So there's weighted averages amongst those areas that you allocate to. And those formulas are provided kind of, you know, you have to do the math, so you have to understand what you're looking at, but it, you know, it's, the rules are pretty straightforward. And so it's something that needs to be taken care of so that it's accurate. That is one of the big things I think that needs to be addressed. That also is the same thing with invoicing. When the city gets invoices of items that are shared throughout the city, for instance, Japhet knows because Japhet asks me all the time, how do I allocate this? Because when we have a shared allocation, meaning that, you know, we have Adobe, for instance, and so, okay, well, how many people in how many departments are using Adobe? You have to bill the whole bill out for users within the department. And then if we have so many licenses on hold, we call them on hold. Are we holding them for a specific department, or are we just holding them for when the department has a new person that's going to use it? And so you have to be able to allocate these costs specifically. And if you don't, then you're going to get called out on not doing cost allocations correctly. So that's one of the big ones. So
I
I'm
have a
hoping to have
question.
all this. Yeah.
If does anybody else have a question? I usually like to wait. Okay. So are you saying that all reconciliations for 2025 will be completed by next week?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Finance Committee mentioned that we had just gotten, we couldn't even get through June of 2025. When did things shift?
I
I mean,
not,
it's good
I don't,
news.
I don't know who told them that I haven't spoke to them for a little bit.
No. And then second, does every department have access to their budget?
Yes,
Okay.
everybody has the ability to go in and look at their budget.
Okay.
This was discussed actually at the end of last year when I think Mr. Holbrook was the only one that didn't have the ability to go in and log in and look at his budget. But Jafet had made sure that everybody had the same access so that they can go in and pull that information. And then they always can ask if they don't know how to pull it, they can always ask for that information. Yeah.
Anybody else? Yeah. There's no questions on our end.
Yes, I have
Oh.
one.
Deputy Mayor?
Yes, because you'd actually told us that we hadn't got June and we hadn't got the rest of 25 not too long ago. I think it was the last time you spoke to us in Finance Committee. It's been several weeks. So I'm glad to hear that we're all caught up on that. But I see you're also planning to be able to give us an updated annual report. I'm just wondering what the timeline on that is.
Yeah, so everything should be done hopefully next week. I just have to do the cost allocations. I've been doing the daily work as well. So it's just a matter of my workload. I've been trying to really balance things out to be able to make sure I'm available because I've had a lot of meetings with leadership to be able to also hear from them what their needs are. And moving forward with making sure all of the items in place are in place that need to be, and that revenues are getting recorded and things are getting allocated correctly so that we're not having to continue this cycle of cleanup. That was one of my big things is I didn't want this year to begin and have a whole nother cleanup when I'm still cleaning. It was kind of, my goal was here, move forward this way and let me fix what's back here. And so that way we can get it all done and it will be a great package. And so unfortunately, I'm kind of still limboing back and forth. I'm hoping that I will have all of this done by mid-June at the latest. And you guys should be able to review everything. After I get everything completed next week, I'm gonna pull the information so that I can send it out to leadership so they can do one last review, because each one of them, when we send this to the Finance Committee for review of any of the amended budget items, which we'll cover here in just a moment. When we do that, they need to be able to also come to council and explain what their amended budget items are. And each department has some, and so those are the things that need to be able to be covered. We want to also be able to give the state auditors a clean report. And I think that's one of the big things is I ran into quite a bit of problems in the beginning of 2025 and trying to get things cleaned up. And so it was, not as big of a task as 24 was, because at least the information wasn't jumbled. It just was missing. And so I had to do a lot of research. I can't put in a $94,000 expense unless I know what that $94,000 expense is. And so there was items like that where I had $94,000 in there and no backup and no information. And so you have to do some research, and it was a bond payment that was made, but nobody had entered it. And so those are simple items, and it was probably from about June to about August that the information hadn't been entered.
Monica, while you're finishing 2025, who's taking care of the first half of 2026?
I did.
You already have it done?
I put all the revenue in, and I've been I will tell you, I'm on our now into this week over 30 hours in of work
How
this
far
week.
are we into 2026?
So I have January balanced. I just have to redo the allocations, and then I have the revenue in for all the way up until June. So now all the items that are left is making sure the allocations are done with the way it's being done now. It should be able to be a lot smoother.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor,
Yeah, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
didn't you say earlier that only January through March had been entered for this year?
Correct. Before, that's all that had been entered. I went in and
So-
entered
so-
everything.
So, okay, so that was already done before you left, right?
I had entered everything, but I had only reconciled January and then was showing the other team members how to pull the spreadsheets to make sure the reconciliations were done on spreadsheets. Because what happens is
Okay,
two
okay,
people can't
okay.
be in the reconciliations at the same time.
I
And so you
understand that.
pull spreadsheets and then you do both of them. So that
Yes.
way each year is getting done.
Yes, I understand that. What I'm questioning is whether or not then February was done and then March was done before you left, before you changed situations.
I went through,
Because that's what you said just earlier this evening, that
well,
you had
I left
already
in,
done
so yeah, I
those.
left March 8th. And
Right.
so everything
you-
had been caught up prior to me leaving March 8th.
Okay.
And then
I'm just trying to
I
get
found
that
out that
clarification.
nothing was done after that.
And is that not something that you would have told your team to do?
I did, yes.
And why would they have been holding back on that?
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, that's probably a question for a later date. Thank you.
Oof, okay.
Go ahead
any
and
other
go
questions?
to
Okay, go ahead, Monica.
the next slide. I'm not sure. Tom, do you have your hand up or is that just?
Yes, I do.
I have a quick question. Oh, go ahead, Counselor Dolan. I'm gonna write down my question.
Monica, I'm looking at the paperwork we received, the 2026 budget position, and on page 12, it has the Sunnyside Municipal Airport. And the first 7 items have nothing budgeted for them, yet there's expenditures of 2,081.58, 392.55, $4,012.15, $2,801.36, 26.90, $925.48, 869, and $11,404.71, which leaves us in a deficit, the total deficit of 22,964.98.
Mhm.
Is this
So
all
is this for
correct
26?
information?
Is this for 26?
Yes.
I'll get there in just a moment.
Okay. I'm jumping the gun. Sorry. I just didn't want to lose you before we got some of those questions answered. Thanks.
Can I go back to my question very quickly? Who has oversight on making sure that the reconciliation is getting done? Monica, I know you just said you're not sure who's finished, why things are not getting done. How are you keeping track of this then?
With the finance team,
Yeah.
right now there's better communication. There was some communication difficulties prior. And so I have weekly meetings with the city manager and try and touch base and kind of touch base with the team as well to make sure to see where they're at. We communicate by email and have meetings, Zoom meetings every week. And so normally that's where things are communicated, and if there's any concerns or anything to follow up with, I follow up with the city manager.
Go ahead,
I just
Counselor
have a
Sissetti.
comment. I know I had been, well, I think they missed last week's finance committee meeting, but there's been several weeks that you weren't there at all. So, I mean, I
No.
know I asked Pat how often you were checking in with him, but, you know, at least maybe if possible, every other meeting to be present at a finance committee meeting to have the information directly from you, that'd be great.
Okay, yeah. The only reason why I hadn't been to those meetings was because I was trying to encourage the new finance supervisor to kind of take the lead to start processing things from moving forward.
Okay, any other questions? No? You can go ahead and proceed.
Okay, next slide. Oh, go back one. I missed something. So some of the issues that I found, so there was missing revenue, kind of like I said, and it was in the bank. It just wasn't in our accounting software, so meaning it didn't get recorded. The bond investment, none of the bond investment had been entered at the beginning of the year, so I had to put all that information in. And with this information, you have to make sure there's backup documentation so that you can provide it to the auditors. Fund transfers haven't been done, meaning that, again, when we pay bills out of any of our capital accounts, you have to take it from your operating account and move it over. Loan payments hadn't been entered. And then the pool fund, it kind of scared me for a minute because there was a whole day of pool fund money that never made it to the bank. And so I had to do a little bit of investigating because I was like, why do we have $500 and some missing? Well, it was because somebody had broken into the pool. And I do remember that when there was a break-in at the beginning of last year during the beginning of the pool season. And I'm sure Mr. Mejia can probably elaborate a little more. I know there was a police report made, and the person that took the money took all of the petty cash and took the deposit. And so none of that was reported to the state auditor's office or corrected in the accounting system. So that's stuff like that has to get taken care of. If there's ever a loss or any theft, all that information has to immediately be sent to the state auditor's office. It's a requirement. And so when I had came on last fall, I knew that the petty cash had been taken. That was what was in their drawer, the till. And so I made sure that report got filed with the state auditor's office. I didn't realize that there was a deposit in there as well. And so that it will be reported as well.
Correct, and we are rectifying that right now. We will have one that is only for deposits, and the only people that would have keys for it is Lisa or Ms. Ochoa, Esme, because those two will be taking care of the direct deposit. We will also be having another one with petty cash because obviously if it's during the week and they run of dollar bills, so we'll have roughly about $200 because that's what they need in the, obviously in the cash register. And the only person that will have that key is the manager or Lisa. So Lisa will have two, everybody else will have one. And that way, once the direct deposit goes in, actually it slides in and you can't reach in there. And I'm gonna make sure that if they're gonna take that, they're gonna work for it. They're gonna be sweating. So I will make sure that it's good and held down there on the board. And yeah, so that's the way I had talked to Heath and obviously Lisa and Esme at the same time, letting them know what my thought process is behind it. So.
Counselor Galvan has a question.
Yeah, so I have a question. I mean, this is the first time I'm hearing about this stuff at the pool. I might have been gone when you guys talked about it, but Is the money being left at the pool on a daily basis, or shouldn't that be taken to City Hall or deposited?
So the reason it's the deposits, because it's at night. And then, yes, the morning time is when they show up. They're supposed to be showing up, picking up the deposits. So the people at the end of the night, the lifeguards, do not have access to US Bank, because that is a city, obvious city bank with their city number. So yes, there was a safe there. Obviously, what happened there that night is miscommunication between lifeguards, and that's why I said we will not have that anymore. The only person that will be in charge of it is the manager, and whoever is helping out the manager, which was the assistant administrator assistant. So they only had the two and plus Esme. So that's why I stopped all that for that particular reason, because then they started saying, oh, he said, she said, I left it, he left it. I thought he was going to take care of it. I said, no, we're not going to go through that game, because it just leads no one to accomplishing anything. So
But there is a US Bank does have a Dropbox, right? Is this something that maybe at the end of the night they
and I
take
believe
it off?
it's a key one is if
No,
I'm
you could
mis-
just
is
drop it in.
You can just open it and drop it.
Yeah.
If council is directing me to do that, we can definitely. To me, that's a lot of money for someone to take sole responsible. Especially sometimes at the middle, at the end of the night, they're out of there. In the past was like 8, 9 o'clock. So I mean, if that's the direction the council would like me to go, I'd be more happy to direct them to start going straight to the bank and depositing it.
George, if I could have a comment. This is why you report those kind of losses to the state auditor, because then they come back with a recommended procedure for handling cash so that you don't have these kind of incidences happening again. So there, even if Hector had a method in mind, it still has to pass the auditor test for safety. And that's why you're supposed to report these things.
Yeah. Let's just make sure we're reporting them immediately to the state auditor going forward.
Correct. And I will.
Okay. Any other questions on that?
I do have a quick question. So did you say, so if they don't deposit it that night, they're holding on to it until the next morning?
So, yes, if the direction the obviously council wants to go, if they don't deposit that night, the safe that's going to be in there is holding the cash till the following morning. And what happened is, obviously, at that time, the bathrooms were left open. So what happened is they stayed in the bathrooms. PD comes and locks it at night. They're still in the bathroom. They climbed up into the attic, which is connected to the pool, jumped into that, and then took it. So that's why we started locking the bathrooms, and then we only open it through events. I mean, it was, I don't know if it was wise of them or what, but or how they even found out about that. But that's what happened.
But now there's the safe there that
There was a safe there,
not used.
but it like I said, it became someone thought that someone had closed it and locked it, and that's what got left open. Had that been locked, I mean, they wouldn't have taken the money. But that's why I want to go away from just allowing lifeguards to take the sole responsibility. That's why we have a manager and the helper, and I've asked them, are you guys sure that you guys want to take that responsibility on? Because this is a big responsibility. You have to have answers if something comes up missing, incorrect balance, so, and they both said yes.
Go ahead, Councilor Galo.
Hector, are you saying that the PD is responsible for locking the bathrooms and they didn't go inside the bathrooms to make sure they were empty and they locked somebody in? That's how they got in?
What I'm saying is they help us at night to lock bathrooms. At times, they are able to, sometimes they're not, because they do get busy. And that's why I switched it over to, we're only going to open certain bathrooms for events only. because we don't, there was, I mean, I did it myself. I locked somebody in there. I pounded on the door. I looked in, said, hey, anybody inside? No one answered. I go to lock it. I'm getting a phone call, say, hey, you locked somebody inside. I knocked on the door. I looked inside. No one said hello or anything. So, you know, stuff gets missed, or whether they're sleeping or drunk. I mean, more than 99% of the time it's homeless. I'm not saying they're doing anything vandalism inside, but we just never know. And like I said, you know, I walked in, pounded on the door, and I'm not a guy that's pretty shy about pounding. So, you know, I made sure it was loud enough so everybody can hear me.
Counselor Chavez?
I think one of the things that's very important, I think we need to do a sweep before we just lock those restrooms, because we can also hold ourselves at the city liable for anything that happens to an individual in there.
Correct.
We have a person that overdosed and we locked him in there, we're going to be in trouble for it. So I think we need to, as a city, we need to make sure that we do a sweep to the restrooms to make sure that everything's good before we lock those. And I think that's going to be very important that we implement that.
Yes. And then, like I said, that's why we want to make sure that we only open it during events, for particular this way. And, you know, I will make sure that that gets passed along to all the other employees.
And the police department, are you all having conversations?
Yes. Yes. So we'll make sure. Like I said, the only ones that are open right now are Sunnyview Park. The ones actually, it's easier to tell you who is closed. Swimming Pool Park is closed. Kiwanis is closed. Central Park is closed. There's none at Don Hughes. There's none at Tina Knox. And I believe the Sunnyview is open. So,
Do you guys have times on what time you guys go over and close them? Because I know that there's a lot of practice for soccer and a lot of the families are using it. What time do you guys go out there and close them?
we had been asking when the PD was closing them, that they had closed it at dusk. So once it started getting dark, they would go and lock it. But obviously, you know, they're busy themselves. Obviously, we've seen how busy they've been, and sometimes it just spaces it out.
Lock.
So that's why we started locking them and only opening them if there's events at either place.
You know, I understand that they're busy, but we cannot also put ourselves in a situation where they're too busy, where they lock somebody else in there and lock somebody. We have kids out there. We have homeless that are probably using, so we can't put ourselves in a situation where they're busy enough to not be able to go in there and look. So I think that's something that's going to be really important that we'll look into.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to. And I mean, I'm willing to come out myself and make sure that once those get locked, that I do a quick sweep through it if I need to. So I can do that.
Any other questions before Monica moves along? Go
Okay.
ahead, Counselor Dolan.
Oh.
Oh, I thought he had a question.
I do.
Okay.
Could this become a police issue? I mean, could there be a security guard that goes around and locks all the doors instead of depending on pool people?
It's something we can look into. Yeah, I mean, I can look into that and see what it would cost us, or if anybody on the parks employees want some overtime, they can come back and see if they're willing to come back and take a look at it, and take a look at the bathrooms at night and lock them up.
But you said the police department helps?
Yes.
Is this who's part of the safety committee,
I am.
subcommittee?
Myself,
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I think this should be a police issue. I think it should be done by trained officers and not pool and, you know, seasonal pool employees, or if the Public Works Department is going to handle it, then you should have someone dedicated to doing that shift to where they go around and check all the doors, turn everything off. I mean, even the parents got left with a key to lock up after swim meets, and it just doesn't work out very well. You need to have one of ours in charge.
I'm sorry, a parent got left with the key?
Yeah, this is before you
Oh, okay.
here, but I did with Dean Boersma, we did a lot of swim meets here in Sunnyside, and we were left with a key to lock up afterwards. Sometimes it got done, sometimes it didn't. And depending on who was given the key at the time. So I don't think that's a way to go. I don't think it's a good way to go because there's so much involved in those swim meets that it's easy to forget to check all the gates and all the doors. And I just think the whole thing with the police department is those guys are pretty good. They probably have, I mean, they've come over to YV Tech at times when there was a call in about a prowler or something, and they're very good at responding. So I think that should be looked into.
Okay, I can definitely talk to Chief Lehman and see if we can make a plan together.
Sounds good.
Okay. You can proceed, Monica.
Okay, next slide. Okay, so the ARPA fund reporting. I was able to complete the reporting for the 2026. Basically what I did was buy time is all I did. I met the compliance to date of what needed to be complied with. And then now it's crunch time is what I want to call it. We have 6 months to have all of the funds spent and accounted for. So what that means is we have established scopes of work or scopes of project on each one of these different departments. We put the funds that we requested the funds for. All the expenditures have to be spent within the next 6 months so that we can say that yes, everything was spent and here you go. Otherwise, we'd have to start paying it back. So the next steps is going to be making sure that we look at each one of these scope of projects, and some of them are wages, some of them are for the revolving loans. I mean, there's a lot of different ones. There was furniture, there's a lot of different items that were allocated into these boxes, and I have all the paperwork. So what needs to happen is we need to say, okay, this is what was spent in 2024 that can fall into these boxes. This is what was spent in 2025 that can fall into these boxes. And then we need to be able to do this within the next 2 months, because then it'll give you 4 months to say, this is what we have remaining. We have to spend it now so we don't have to pay it back. Otherwise, what's going to happen is if you keep prolonging this, the 6 months is going to be up, and then you're going to be scrambling trying to find all the invoices for these funds. You don't want to have to then scramble and try and build a report and report the $2 million that we have to report. There's over $2 million that we have to report in each one of these categories. And so it's going to be very important that the scope of project for each one of them is completely spent out. And so we want to make sure within the next 2 months that we're able to find all of these items and determine whether all of the funds were spent out. And if they weren't, then we need to spend them out within the next 4 months after that. So 6 months left to do it. I believe it can get done. The scope of project is pretty easily read. So this is something that I believe we can pull together and easily look at.
Madam Mayor.
Deputy Mayor, I have Councilor Galvan, then Councilor Vasquez, and I'll come to you.
Thank you.
Monica, with you almost being done with the 25 reconciliation, is this something that you'll be able to assist us with the ARPA? I would really feel comfortable with you helping us out because you do know the ins and outs of the ARPA funds and and the expenses.
It is part of my contract for helping the city. If you guys would like me to continue in making sure I can pull this, just because I've gotten to learn these funds so well, I feel like it'd be really easy for me to open up the year and be able to pull as much in. And what I can do is I can pull the information, provide the information to the team like Vanessa and Jessica. And Vanessa is really good because she's our accounts payable person. So she is going to be able to really be able to be on top of where to find any of those invoices. She just needs to make a copy of them and have them together. So you're supposed to have project folders, and normally those project folders for all the scope of project is in one folder. And so all of that information will be in one folder so that when you get your federal audit, you're able to report it and they can say that you're completed. So right now we can get a federal audit done and it's not necessarily that the scope of project is done, but it will have to be completed within the next 6 months.
Yeah, with the risk of having to pay stuff back, right? I would really feel comfortable with you sticking on to this if the rest of council, I guess, and Pat agree.
Go ahead, Councilor Vasquez.
Yeah, and then, in that bullet where it says if we have any remaining amount, so gathering that we don't have any idea right now, right? If there is any remaining or.
Correct. I had this was one of the requests I had made for the team to start on, and I think they hadn't gotten to it. So
Okay.
definitely something we need to get on top of sooner
Okay.
rather than later.
Okay, and could you give me the total amount of ARPA funds that the city received again? Do you have that
Oh,
number?
goodness.
The total amount?
26, wasn't it?
I do. I can even tell you every single scope that it is.
2,226,000, I think.
Like 4 million.
Yeah, it's close. It's over 4 million.
4 million?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because each one of the projects alone had quite a bit in it. Where's $4,693,150.
Can you repeat that again?
$4,693,150. Total expenditures to date is $2,284,143.68.
So we have 2 more million?
And that's counted expenditures, correct?
That's the counted expenditures that they already reported for 2023. So then what we have to do is we have to take the information of what's left over in each one of these buckets and account for what was spent out and see if there was anything that wasn't spent out so that it can be spent out within the next 6 months. We
Which
have
is
to be able
why-
to account for it.
Which is why we need to get up to speed with all this at least before, like by August.
Yes.
Probably sooner.
I would say
Yeah.
you would want to, ideally, mid-August at the latest so that it can be expensed. I can give you an example. For instance, the community improvement was for the youth recreation programs, including pool programs and summer camps, startup funds for homes and businesses, physical asset rehabilitation, revolving loan program, landscaping and beautification improvements, and the community purpose areas, accessible restrooms for the parks and public spaces. So that was the scope of the project. The total that they allocated to the scope of this project was $1,452,297.28. So they say that they spent total expenditures $395,820.23. So that leaves you quite a bit left over to have to say how much, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot left over to find to say we spent it on these items. Now, there's good news, and the good news is that some of the staff there is very aware of some of these programs and what these programs were intended to be spent on. It's a matter of trying to find the invoices and making sure that we can have that backup documentation because it's imperative to have that backup documentation. If we don't have the backup documentation and we can't find those invoices, then you have to then spend the money again because you have to prove that the money was spent on the items that fall within the scope of the project.
So are we working on that already?
I had allocated it previously and it did not get done.
Madam Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do the departments, each department, do they have the boundaries or the parameters in which those funds are available? I mean, do they know what they can and can't spend money on? Say, streets department.
If they were here during the time and involved during the process, they would maybe know. But if they weren't here during the time or involved in the process, then no. I could provide them a report of saying, hey, this is X, Y, and Z from your department. Do you know what it was spent on? Chief Lehman was really good about being able to say, these are the items that were intended for the police department. And so he knew right off the bat. And I believe police department was one of the only ones that I believe they had already spent everything down in that department and reported it. So there's quite a bit that needs to be reported, obviously with the $2 million, but there's ones that there's quite a bit that can be found still.
Is there a chance of getting all that information to each of the department heads so that we can get them
Started?
aware of
Absolutely.
the availability of these funds?
That
so
was my intent, was to start putting the scopes of work together as soon as I was able to move forward off of the reconciliations
I see.
so that they can start their project while I'm trying to do the annual report for the state auditors.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Hart, did we get to your question?
I think somewhere along the line it got in, it probably did get answered, but I have one more because it seems to me that this year in the 2026 budget, that some of the ARPA monies were allocated to various places. I'm having trouble finding it in my budget here. But it seems to me that we did take some of the ARPA money that was left over and we added it to the budget so that we could get the rest of those projects done. Am I wrong in thinking that?
No, I didn't put any of the ARPA funds into the budget. The only funds that I put, there was $2 million, and those are the grants that are currently, they were obtained with Mr. Gonzalez, I believe, had went out to lobbying, and that was for the Tinanoth Park, the gazebo, the soccer field, and then there was another one that was for the fire department. And currently, Mr. Mejia and Miss Mejia, it's weird to say that, not related people, are going to be working together to try and get those funds.
Monica, that's really kind of strange to me because I really remember when we were talking during the budget that you indicated to us that ARPA funds were being used in some of the different budgets. So I want to go back and look at that. Maybe I misunderstood, but I will be looking back through my notes to see whether or not that I'm mistaken on that. But it really, otherwise I wouldn't ask the question because I remembered that we had agreed to use some ARPA monies to finish off the projects at these different places, one of them being painting the Senior Citizen Center, which was among the money that ARPA was supposed to be used for. That was one of our projects back. It had never happened. So I know that some money got put into, I just know that there's money from the ARPA money that was put into this year's budget as it was last year. So maybe we just need to look a little closer at that.
I
Because
didn't put any money for sure.
be
I know
where-
I didn't put any money in from the
Yeah.
ARPA funds because I don't know what the balances are. So I wouldn't be able to do that without having balances. And so because I don't know the balance of what has been spent and what hasn't been
Mhm.
spent, I can't
Maybe-
put that money in there.
Maybe it was
We
just
did discuss that it
discussion.
was supposed to
Yeah.
be for that, but I don't know that they haven't spent that money or they have spent that money. That's the part that I don't know.
Okay, maybe it was just a discussion I'm remembering, but maybe we can take a look into that as well.
Counselor Goodwin?
Deputy Mayor, I think you're mistaken. With 2025, they used, they told us they were going to use the ARPA remaining funds to balance 2025, not 2026.
Perhaps, but I know we talked about it for this year's budget as well.
Hmm.
Any case, I will do some more
Other
checking in my
conversations?
notes. Thank you.
Okay. Seems like no further questions on our end. Monica, you can
Madam-
go ahead.
Madam Mayor,
Oh, yes, go ahead, Mr. Dolan.
does, Monica, does the airport qualify for, any of these ARPA funds?
I believe the airport had a different grant that was provided to it, but I can definitely look at the scope of project and see if any of them can fall within the scope of project to be able to cover some of the projects that are at the airport. The airport, I know, had some other grants that were provided for, I think it was for pesticide spraying or some kind of spray or something like that.
It was
And
a
I know
cleanup
that-
we had a grant from Department of Ecology, which we are, with the permission of council, to go for it again to finish the cleanup. It is the last section of where the fencing will be happening, so obviously we want to try to get that cleaned up prior to the fence being over there.
Well, there's 7 line items on here that didn't get budgeted for any money. And they're the reason we have a $22,000 964 or $22,964.98 deficit. For
well,
the,
if I can go ahead and go to the next slide,
what? Okay,
then I
Thank you.
can maybe go, I'm getting into that part right now. So,
I'm gonna get there.
I promise I'll get there. So, a couple of the things with what you're seeing. Some of that has to do with the allocations that I had mentioned previously and requesting that the allocations get done. And it just hasn't gotten there yet. So we don't have any employees that are dedicated to the airport, and there's not supposed to be those wages put to the airport. All of that will be removed when the allocations are done correctly. So that's part of the problem is things are getting line items to the wrong departments. And so that's where review has to come in. When things are getting reviewed with the claims, it's not just looking at the amounts being spent. Also, you have to look at what GL line items are getting posted to. So I will often pull a GL line item for the claims so that I can see where it is. And I'm sure that George, I'm not sure if I know that George was in meetings before where I've looked at line items and highlighted it and said, wait a minute, that doesn't look right. That's the wrong GL line item. And I just know off the top of my head when a GL is incorrect. And so I'll bring it back to Vanessa to kind of just get her aware a little more so that she can call them out when she sees them. And then I have to go in and reallocate that line item. I know right now there's a few line items. I had conversations with some of leadership, and Chief Lehman is currently working to get some of the things reallocated that were posted in some of the accounts. It's important to not only review the amounts that are getting spent, but it's also important to look at the allocation of what line item it's getting spent to, so that you know that it's within the budget of that line item. And if it's not, then you have to go in and either reallocate it or ask for a budget amendment to that line item. So when these things are getting approved, those are the things you need to look at for the claims portion. So looking at the 2026 budget review right now, there's things to consider. What I provided was to the end of May. So revenue should be at 42% or above. Expenses should be no more than 42%. Beginning balances have not been entered into the 2026 year because I have to close 25 for it to allow me to roll over those amounts. So 2026 beginning balances are not available right now because they're still getting updated. So that being said, go ahead and click to the next slide.
Monica,
gonna-
Counselor Galvan had a question. Just want to
Okay.
get to him before we move on.
No, and I just wanted to comment to your comment as to the coding, right? So I guess, and that's something that I'm keeping close eye on, and that's how I was able to catch the mistake from Chief Lehman, because I did notice that there were some issues there, and I was able to see the numbers and the coding. So I do appreciate when Vanessa is there at the finance meetings, because she is able to give me the invoices that I asked for, and on there I'm able to see which line item each department head is coding it to. So I do appreciate her having all that information in that meeting.
Yeah, and what's great is this year I believe that I believe, I'm not positive, Heath might be able to back me up on this, but I believe Vanessa's in line to be able to learn some more BARS accounting. For her role specifically, it's really important to know BARS accounting because she does all the accounts payable stuff, meaning that she needs to be able to call somebody out when she knows that something is being allocated to the wrong line item. You can't trick the AP person. If your budget's up to the max and you have something you're trying to purchase and you try and sneak it into a different line item, you're going to get called out on it and said, no, you can't do that. So it's really important for her to be able to do that. So, and to have the confidence to know that she can do those things. Go ahead and switch to the next slide. We're going to kind of toggle between this slide and the next slide. So this slide is going to be what it looks like without those beginning balances. And the reason why I wanted you to see both sides of it is because right now, what we received and what we spent don't have those beginning balances on them. Meaning, well, the spent side wouldn't have them, but the received side would have a beginning balance that rolls over. And so it would also be in that line item. So if you look at the budgeted revenue and what's in that line item, that's without that beginning balance rolled over. And so in the next slide, if you click one more, you're going to see the difference in that revenue budgeted jump up really big. And that's because there's an amount that was budgeted that says, okay, this is how much we're ending 2025 with, that's going to roll over into all these fund accounts into 2026. Well, that budget is there, but the received part hasn't been entered yet because I have to close out 25 to be able to see those received. So when you're looking at the budget, kind of look at both sides of it and understand that the reason why you're not seeing a lot of stuff in there is because none of those beginning balances are in there. That being said, I've had a couple of discussions with leadership because I felt like there were some items that were a little bit low revenue-wise. I had a conversation with Chief Halbrook because I felt like the transport was a bit low. I was kind of surprised by it not being a little bit higher. It's only collected 16%, which is very odd for that fund. And so we had a conversation with the billing department. And so the billing department's always a couple months behind. To me, it shouldn't make that big of a difference, but he felt like it was, it's definitely something we're going to keep an eye on because I'm a little concerned why it's so low with the fact that he's actually done more transports. And so that's something that it might have to get reevaluated here soon. The other one that's low and it's just across the board is state revenue from taxes. The police department is going to be very low. All of the REIT funds, like the street funds, all the taxes that we're collecting right now with Washington State are across the board down. I was surprised at how down the public safety tax was. And Chief Lehman actually reached out to a couple other departments And they said that they're feeling the crunch too. And so they've reached out to the Treasury, and the Treasury said that, you know, they are behind a couple of months with the revenues, but they are also seeing that the tax has dropped substantially, which was really kind of surprising. Go ahead and go back up to the slide previously. So if you look at this slide, you can see that, like, for instance, the 140 fund is only at 16%. And if you go back up to the previous slide, you can see that the 140 fund's at 38%. So meaning that the beginning balance didn't transfer over yet. So hopefully that will help cushion it a little bit. We should be above 42% right now. So being that the beginning balances are in there to help carry things, I'm hoping that maybe when the beginning balances come over, yeah, the tax revenue is pretty low this year. It's pretty shocking. It's definitely, you know, not something that you can predict sometimes. And so having those discussions and then being able to adjust and kind of make sure that we're not overspending, especially when we see those kinds of things happening. Any questions about these line items? I know that the allocations need to get completed, and there's a few items that need to be adjusted in here. So again, when we talk about these funds and we talk about budgets within our funds, so these are your fund items. So you have different departments within the general fund, and we hold everybody accountable within the general fund. If we move, let's say we're gonna decide we have to reallocate some money within the general fund, we would bring that to council because another department maybe needs something. But for instance, the street fund has their own pocket of money. And so within their fund, they can kind of move things around a little bit, but they can't move the street fund into, let's say, the fire fund. You can't do that. But within your own fund, you can kind of reallocate some things if necessary. I always recommend always bringing it to the attention of the council, so that way you guys can also realize the different projections moving forward, so that when budget comes next year, you understand why these things had to change and why maybe it doesn't need to change again. So if there's a one-time item and you're just saying, I just got to buy a big purchase this year, but next year I'm not going to have that purchase, so we're just going to lessen the fund next year, then these are items that need to be brought to the attention of the council prior.
Monica, I have a question for me. So
Uh-huh.
for both of these sheets on the column under received, the
Mhm.
difference, there is a difference there of $25,100 and $102 or so. Those received funds, are those revenues received for 1 month?
They're all the way up to the end of May.
End of May?
Yep.
Okay. Can you
Today's the first, so
can, at the previous finance committee, they provided us with the bank statements, and I think with May just being over, can you send us the bank statements for May? Because I do have January through April.
okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Monica? Seems like there's none. Monica, you can go ahead.
Okay, go ahead and go down a couple. There we go. So next we're going to go to some of the items that we're going to consider for the budget amendment. So once I'm completely done with 2025 and I'm able to roll these beginning balances in, it's going to give us a more accurate detail description of what we have. When we get that accurate detailed description, we're going to take into account some of these items. Some of these items are, unfortunately, we don't get the luxury of saying no to because of CBA and policy. So one of the things that we need to discuss is going to be the classification and compensation schedule. Right now, we're out of the policy. We're not following our own policy, which is not good. Recently, the chiefs have joined a CBA, and the CBA basically reiterates what our policy is. And so for the last 2 years, none of the non-rep employees have seen any kind of raises or COLA increases. Meaning for 2 years, the non-reps have received no increase at all, while all the union employees are getting increases because it's in their contracts. And per the policy, the minimum rate of a beginning wage for any supervisor compared to the subordinate is 10% above their max base rate. So there's quite a substantial lack of that wage gap is quite substantial. So across the board, every single one of the non-reps are going to need to be increased to be able to meet that, so that there's not this compact within the person below them. So right now, some of the police officers make more than the commanders, and some of the firefighters make more than the assistant chiefs and are the captains, and it's because when you're getting your union negotiated and your rates go up, then you should be seeing that reflected into leadership. And I guess for the last couple of years, it just hasn't been able to happen. At the end of last year, we were able to close out some of the CBAs, and I know there's a lot more coming up. So the wages, when those change with those CBAs, it also needs to reflect the same with the supervisors above them.
Monica, so I guess should it be a good idea going forward to increase those non-reps on a yearly basis?
So
When we increase the other?
as each union gets a negotiation, so for instance, the clerical union is going to be getting negotiated soon. And when the clerical union renegotiates, what happens is all of their wages change. Well, then there's the supervisors union, and the supervisors union wages change based off the clerical unions. And then what happens is when those wages change, then the finance supervisor would change, right? Because now you have the finance director. So now you have the supervisor making this much money, and they have a span of roughly 25% from the minimum to the maximum wage range. And they have steps. And so every year they get a step increase, plus they get a COLA. So they get 2 different increases throughout the year. Well, for the last 2 years, none of the directors or any of the non-reps have received any of that. And every employee keeps going up and up and up. And so all of these steps have been made and all these negotiations have been met, but none of the non-reps, for instance, Heath's position, Hector's position, they've received nothing. And so those wages need to match what the policy says by every single time one of the union CBAs are negotiated, the supervisor or director role would then also change at the same time to reflect that 10% difference.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And is it the duty of the city manager and HR to get together to assess the COLAs for every year for all the non-reps?
So the way it's written right now, it's a little funky. So the reason why they got away with the last couple of years of not doing it was because it states in there that it's an average of the union's COLAs. So every union negotiates what COLA they get every year. And so then it says, okay, well, the non-reps get an average of their COLAs. Well, if there's no negotiation and they're not getting a COLA, then they just said, well, we didn't negotiate, so they don't have a COLA, so you're not going to get one either. And so that's just kind of what's been happening. So it's it needs to be fixed. So right now, per the policy, you're going to see the projection with the minimum 10% wage gap for the subordinate and 3% COLA consideration. One of the things that we, Pat and I discussed, we would like to see an IT director role. We have somebody in mind for that role. He's pretty amazing. He's received a mayor's coin before, but he, you know, right now the way that the org chart sits, it's something that we're going to bring back to the council for reconsideration as well. So that way the IT director is sitting as a director role underneath the city manager, because IT has a really imperative role for the entire city. This, you know, technology is only moving forward. We're not standing still. And so we need to make sure that that person has the freedoms of being able to make executive decisions for the city. And so it's something that we would like to see maybe is that director role be made and be placed directly under the city manager's watch. IT is also requesting that due to the needs of the city, they need to have more qualified technicians in place. They want to be able to add another role that's a little bit higher qualifications than right now what kind of they have in place. And so Jafette's been speaking with HR to kind of outline what the need IT department is. They lost a person in that department. And so it's really important that we make sure we keep IT filled full of people, especially with all the projects we have moving forward right now. Right now, he is working on the timekeeping implementation because we had to change our timekeeping for the city. We have the emails getting changed so that we're going to have that 365 outlook instead of having the impossible one we have right now, where it's not great. There's document control management that is very important for the city to move forward with, because right now everything's on paper, and if you lose that piece of paper, then the document's lost forever. Having a virtual document control will be able to have all your ordinances, all of your public requests be at your fingertips and pretty instantaneous. There's a few other projects in the works, and so having the higher level IT is really kind of a necessity right now. Another ask is that we open the HR manager role back up, and then under the HR generalist, having a generalist / benefits specialist for being able to be dedicated to those union negotiations and new hires. Right now, with union negotiations and with the way that the finances are, really having oversight of this is going to be important, because it's not just medical, dental, 401k. It's also looking at, you know, the vacation and the vacation payouts and the longevity payouts and all these different incentives that people are getting. And that needs to be really calculated and taken into account when the city is forecasting the cost of an employee. And so having somebody that can really understand the benefit specialist position, mathematical, you know, equations that not just that HR portion, but that portion that really takes the whole broad look at what a benefit is. So that's another kind of ask that we have discussed. Removing the communications director title from the city clerk. The city clerk normally does a lot of these roles. And it's just a title change. And so it's just would be, the city clerk role and fall in line with what other cities are currently doing. And then add 3 firefighters to total 17 firefighters. And the reason why Chief Halbrook was discussing the 3 firefighters was because we are looking to the future of taking 3 firefighters and moving them into that lieutenant position. And so, and it would be an internal move into the lieutenant position. Any
Monica, there's a
questions?
couple questions. Counselor Chavez and then Counselor Galvan.
So I'm looking at the items for consideration. How many employees are we looking to bring in then?
Well, the firefighters, there's the 3. We lost one in IT, so it's just basically replacing the IT person, but in a different capacity. We need somebody that has a little bit higher tech. So it's kind of replacing somebody. An HR benefit person. So that'd be 4 new positions, and then retitling one.
Communications,
And then,
communications director, we have to add that one too, correct?
no, we're removing the title from that. So right now, the way that the city clerk's title was communications director / city clerk. And so we're removing the title. I think
But
the
would
city
still be doing the
manager
same
might be able
duties,
to
correct?
explain that one a little better than I can.
No, they won't be doing the same duties. The previous clerk's position kind of expanded into communications director's role. And over time, they took on a larger participation in that activity. We're throttling that back just to specifics to clerking, public records requests. That's the focus. If we need a communication as it relates to a director role, we can sub some of that out. We don't necessarily need to have somebody here all the time specifically doing communications. It's really 2 different positions. And previously it was rolled into one. And as a result of that, it created a workload for that one individual that was just unsustainable and a lot of stress and a lot of work. So now we're just dialing it back to what is a normal position, just titled clerk. And that's plenty of work because in addition to that is the public records officer. And that's, sometimes as much as 75% of their workload just to handle that. I would like to say that we probably have a 5th position, and that would be a deputy clerk, because we don't want to get into this situation again, so that we have some backup in the clerk role as well as the public records officer role. You really need some strong staffing in that area, because if things don't get done in a timely fashion, you can really find yourself in big trouble.
So if you said we would also need a deputy clerk, that would add 6 positions.
The 3 firemen.
Yes, IT,
4,
HR.
The 4, yeah. If we do go with the benefits coordinator position, yes, that's 6 positions.
So we're not talking 5, we're talking 6 positions, correct?
Well, the one that I just talked about as far as the deputy clerk is not on here, but yes, that's something that I think we should pay attention to. I mean, we do have deputy clerks. We've had them in the past, administrative assistants, deputy clerks. So it's not, it's just an unfilled position right now, really, is what it's been for quite a while.
And I wanted to add to my question, with adding another IT, would they have shared roles, shared duties, or would they have different roles with that? I know that's probably something for Jafet.
With all the projects we have going on, I need somebody in the role that's able to take a little more responsibility with the bigger thing is application support. But for example, right now, the rollout of the time management system has, taken quite a bit of time, and could be something that can be assigned to. Just to give an example, right now we're spending a lot of time making sure everybody's able to log into the system and that they're seeing what they need to see. So I'm looking for someone that's able to take a little bit more of that responsibility to help me focus on other things. Like Monica mentioned, we have the rollout of Office 365 that's about to take a lot more of my time as well. As she's also mentioned, we need a document management system. That's something that's going to take time from every department. Every department needs input into that because it needs to be built for their needs. I think the departments that currently have the greatest need are finance, as well as the clerk's department. But it's something that is needed across the city in every department. There's quite a few items on the waiting list. We need text message archiving. We need on top of what we already had in place, we're working on replacing a lot of hardware equipment. Michael's been working very hard on replacing all our network equipment across the city. We've done the switches on all our buildings. Now we need to replace the links between most of our buildings for Public Works need antennas replaced. And we're starting that process now. So there's a lot going on. Many times a council meeting is not the best place to discuss stuff that you're looking to fix. If you're working at your house and you have a big hole in your backyard, you probably don't want to announce, hey, I got this big hole in my backyard and we're working to fix it. So this, there is work going on. This is not always the best place to bring up these projects. So I am looking for somebody that can help me take on some of these responsibilities and give them a little bit more of a role. And that's the reason for the change.
Somebody with a little more bandwidth.
Go ahead, Councilor Goodwin.
So Monica, I appreciate the being proactive in thinking of what the city needs and where we need to be at. But with that being said, these items for consideration, can you think of maybe some of them that could be talked about and maybe amended for the 2027 budget versus the ones that we immediately need to handle? And also with the city clerk, my understanding was that we did change the classification, right, to remove the communication, and the wages did go down for the city clerk. So I think maybe we could cross that off under these items here.
I don't think that the classification schedule came to council.
So we just need to change that to reflect
It
those
has to be
changes.
on,
Okay.
that's, Jackie always said, that's your Bible.
Yeah, no, yeah, I read
The
that
fee
Bible and
schedule and the
understand the Bible.
classification schedule. And so
Mhm.
we have to make sure that it reflects on that because that's what we have to go by. And
Mhm.
so,
Yeah, and that's one of the items that I could, see that we need to pass, quite
It needs to
fast.
be updated. It was last updated in January, so
Yeah.
it needs a modification.
Yeah.
And with that being said, maybe, for the 2027 budget, and then once we know where we're at, because, right now, these items, potentially are going to increase the expenditures for the city, and we don't know
Correct.
where we're at right now. So, you're pretty close to giving us the numbers for,
Yeah.
where we can truly
And
make a
I want to be able to
decision.
have a really good, strong mid-year
Mhm.
review so that come July, you guys have everything and you're moving forward and know what you're looking at in 27.
Mhm.
The only other item I didn't put on here, and I'm sorry, Hector, I promised I would mention it, so I'm going to. If the public works funds are doing well, Hector could really use an assistant. And so that was the other item that was being considered. He previously had an executive assistant in the Public Works Department, and we had, when we did the freezes, that role was kind of on a freeze. And so when we evaluate where we're at mid-year with Public Works, because that role would fall under the Public Works Department, we can see where we're at there. The other items within the police fund was increasing the crime lab is something that they need done. And then due to the HVAC issues that happened earlier in the year that Jafet had talked about in the server room in the police department, we need to increase the professional services budget. Adding capital expenses is a request. It's it's not a necessary need, but these are the things that we are projecting maybe for 27. And then one thing to consider is that when, I spoke with Chief Lehman, and the dispatch center right now budget is allocated fully for the entire year. When the dispatch center is disbanded, we have to pay out the wages, pay out the vacation, and pay everything out. And once all the expenses have been expensed out of that fund, then that fund will get redistributed. And so that will be something that comes back to the council for the redistribution of those funds that are no longer going to be needed in that department. In the fire department, I spoke with Chief Halbrook, and he said that right now he just needs to be able to increase the professional services, and because he would like to be able to split the professional services between the funds for the third party that does the billing for the ambulance. And so that 100% gets covered by the ambulance fund, which is pretty healthy. And so I think that doing that would be an easy move. He said small tools and equipments, just because they have some items that they really need over there. He has all his capital items were already budgeted out for this year, and so they're within his budget already. Public Works right now, they have some capital items they need in the sewer and water department that need to come increased. When we did the Public Works budget, we did it with the intention of not really budgeting anything and doing budget amendments as we have these projects come up, because we knew HLA had some things in the works, but we wanted to wait and see what grants we were going to also kind of try and receive or apply for during this timeline, and also if we were going to need to try and obtain another loan. In the immediate, right now, they need to purchase pumps and a fire hydrant. And so those are the two asks that we'll be coming forward with in the Public Works Department, because those are necessities that need to happen so that we don't run into any issues. They're kind of emergency needs, not necessarily wants. And so, or not requests, but needs. So those are the two line items that are going to be really important to put on the next budget amendment sooner rather than later, so that they can get allocated to the Public Works Department. Any questions?
With that being said, I also have obviously a request for my sewer department. The AC and the heater has been broken for the last 4 years. When it gets hot, it gets really hot in there. They have the doors open. Obviously, everybody's always smelled sewer. Flies are coming into our laboratory where it's not a great place to have stuff like that. But that, like I stated, that's something that we've been looking into. We've gotten quotes to replace that. It is a very high expense to replace the one we have in there right now. We've talked to other people about split systems. We do have a quote for that also. But I have sent it to Ms. Hofstetter for review. Obviously, I will send it to council and see which direction they would like to go with those quotes, because like I said, they haven't had anything for the last 4 years. And summertime is coming. They got little basic fans in there trying to keep them cool. And it takes a toll on guys.
If also, I mean, I don't know if this is doable, but we don't want it to get too hot, and if it is an absolute necessary need, because it might be a little bit to get the AC fixed, but portable AC units might be something to look into.
So I guess with fingers crossed, maybe we can find some of the ARPA funds that we haven't used and use it on some of these items.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one way, that is a possibility.
Mhm.
But like I said, I just wanted to bring your guys' attention because it is getting hot. And
You said very expensive. What's very expensive?
I have one quote from one of the companies is to replace everything. It's 96,215. Another quote I had the split system. It's 34,204.
Are these the quotes that were older quotes?
No, I believe this is the updated one that I sent. So
Okay.
I know you had stated I needed to get an updated quote, so I reached out and got them.
Okay, perfect.
So
Okay. I think we have about 7 minutes until we have to extend today's
Yeah.
workshop, Monica.
Okay, anything else with regarding the considerations?
Gonna hit 90.
All right, next slide. So next, I will be completing the 2025. By the end of the week, I should be able to get the reconciliations and then be working on the allocations and making sure everything is all tidied up. And then the 26 books will be completed, meaning that by July, you'll have clean books and be able to really go into your budget workshop with solid numbers. And then the bond that matured is still sitting in our bank. So one of the things is when I bring forward the budget, it was allocated to each fund as it was distributed out of. So it all went back into the fund accounts that they belong into, because it's a distribution of several accounts. And so with the completion of the bank recs and everything considered, moving the funds for investment purposes is a good idea. And we'll discuss that, or I can bring forth some ideas during that time. So that way we can make sure we're not overloading our bank and we're putting money back into investing. Next slide. And so the last slide is the July budget workshop. And so you'll get a clean 2026 amended budget and it'll be provided ready for you. So that way you have these items of importance to add to your 27 workshop. And every department should have their 5-year capital plan for you to be able to review. So that way when you're doing your budget, you know what to project in the future. And then the city together can reach its mission and goals. And as Pat likes to say, it'll be sunny side up.
When is it next time we're going to be getting an update?
I should be able to meet with the finance committee on their next meeting.
And we meet every Monday.
Okay.
So that's Monday coming up.
Yeah.
Did you have a question?
No, but just some clarification. I know you said that we're coming up to a 3-hour mark, but rules and procedures on the study sessions, we don't have a time limit on there, just on the regular meetings.
I thought we did. I don't
I'm
know if
looking
I
at
had
the
mentioned it.
I know we have it on our regular council.
regular council meetings, but the study
Oh,
sessions.
then, okay, no, I
don't
think
have-
somebody had clarified last time that we didn't for workshop.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. I stand corrected.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, yeah, go ahead.
However, having been here since 6 o'clock, and some of the folks have worked, and of course, Miss Hofstadter it's somewhere in the neighborhood of midnight where she's at. So maybe, is there any possibility that we could adjourn this meeting or recess this meeting to meet tomorrow night to continue the other items that were on the work study agenda and the executive session? I think would be fresher minds if we do that.
Not available.
I think, it's up to the manager, but if could excuse staff, and council could continue, and Deputy Mayor, if you need to go, you could also be excused.
No, I'm talking about all of us.
I'm here to work. Let's get to work.
I'll stay.
Do we want to stay? Is there a consensus that we want to stay and finish, and then maybe staff can be excused? That doesn't necessarily, I'm not sure what the executive session is about, so whoever you'll need.
How much time will the executive session take?
Well, there's a short version and a long version. It depends on the council. But Heath is needed for the executive session.
Okay.
Hector, you're welcome to go home. And of course, Japhet's got to come back and shut it all down.
Okay. I don't,
There's 2 items that were left, or actually 3 items left to talk about. One had to do with fire equipment purchase that Cameron was going to talk about, but he was sick today. So he thought, Monica, you might have a comment about that. Is that correct?
So those were the capital items that were already in the budget. He is looking to purchase the ambulance that he had in the budget. That was his capital purchase. He had, oh gosh, I could probably pull it up. Let me look
About
real quick, 'cause I had
19,000.
More
I
19,000.
have all of it.
wait, could we just make a determination if we're gonna stay or not? I'm willing to just push through it tonight. I think we have a couple more items, and then we can wrap up with executive session. I don't think the next couple items will take too long. And if anybody needs to be excused, we can do so now before we move along.
Let's push through.
Okay, Counselor Dolan, you had a question?
Well, I'm glad we're pushing through. I'm ready to push through also, but I
Okay.
just wanted to, before Hector leaves, maybe ask for 3 different bids on the heating and cooling over there. I mean, I heard 1, and I think that one's kind of in the ballpark, but I think you could probably get lower by talking to some more of these contractors.
Yes, sir. Most definitely. I know we reached out to quite a few companies, but I can reach out to it. I do ask for one item tonight. I have 2 pumps for under my sewer department that needs to be replaced. One of them is at the Ajo sewer that is $21,343. But the pump that's in there will be able to be taken out and replaced or rebuilt. At these areas, we're supposed to have 2 pumps. Right now, we only have 1 at the Ajo. The other one is at our plant. So this pump is destroyed. It's been there for since 2013, I want to say, give or take. It is to keep our water clean as it gets through the sewer. So it cleans the clarifier and doesn't allow grime to get in there, because then the sludge holds up and then we'll have to suck it out. I know we have asked for 2, but we can go with one of those pumps, and that is $16,322. These are vital pumps that if they go out, we're gonna be up a creek, and we do not want to be up a creek. So if I can have direction from council, if I'm able to purchase those pumps, because like I said, those are vital pumps that we need. We've been holding off trying to make do with what we have. Obviously under the understanding of budget. So that's why we did what we could to keep them going.
16,000 what?
16,322 is for one at the plant. And then 21,343 is the other one.
Go ahead, and then I'll ask my-
Well, I feel that being that it's a crucial piece of equipment, that if it does fail, we're gonna be swimming in a lot of wastewater, right? So I mean, in my opinion, I think we need them, so we need to get them. And then you said that some of these pumps can be sent out for rebuilt, refurbished.
Correct. The one pump we wanted to make sure that we do get the new one, so we can send that one to get rebuilt. We're hoping we caught it early with it. The impellers inside there are pretty gummed up and jammed and just broken off. So we're trying to limp it along, but it's getting to that point where either replace it or we can get it catch fast enough where we can get it rebuilt. And it's gonna be a lot cheaper to get it rebuilt than it is obviously to replace it with another new pump. So, and we don't have any backups for that one. That's why we need to purchase one to take out that one and get it rebuilt.
So are we just looking for direction?
Just a direction.
Okay, this wouldn't have to come before a resolution or
Right.
an
So,
amendment?
you're going to get 3 quotes or as many as somebody will respond to.
Correct.
And then these are coming out of utility funds, right? So
Yes,
there's,
all straight utility funds.
yeah, so it's not, so there should be money in those utility funds for these purchases.
Correct.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure,
So then we'll come back with a resolution for authorization of purchase.
Bring something for to us.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
On Monday.
okay, I will do that.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
All right, going back to item B, are we waiting, are we going to wait for Chief Halbrecht on this, or is Monica going to give an update?
The chief isn't here and is out sick today, but he sent me a text message that said that Monica might be able to provide some backup information on the department expense. It's about 19,000 is what he's showing here on the agenda bill.
Mayor,
Is that right, Monica?
I'm not sure what that one is. I know that he and I had discussed the purchase of the ambulance. I'm trying to think of what that one would be.
Go ahead, Counselor Dolan.
at the public safety meeting, he explained to us, that these items, he has it covered with his budget, and this was basically just a nod from council to go ahead and push forward with what he had on, had planned.
It's already budgeted there.
Yeah.
They were all budgeted items.
Yeah.
I know that.
Oh,
And just because of the price tag, he needs approval from council to be able to purchase these items. And that's why I think that this is why he wanted to
Yeah.
discuss it.
It has all been budgeted already and he's had this money saved and allocated for this specific reason. So
Yeah.
he just wanted us to be aware of that and get approval.
Okay,
It was more for council to just see with the numbers.
okay.
Yep, exactly.
Right. We have budget
Yeah.
limitations of what is authorized for expenditures and the max is mine at 10 and department heads are at 5 and so forth.
So it is, okay.
So this exceeds that. It needs to come back even though it is a budgeted item.
Okay,
And just to update the council on the water pressure. So we have been working on it. I just got a text from Hugo, my water supervisor. Water tower at Grandview is 26 feet. So obviously it's climbing. It's taking a little bit of time. I appreciate the council and our citizens being patient and cooperated with us. So just to update you guys on the water issue, we are working on it. So what happened was our SCADA system, which is really outdated, which I'm working to find a grant for that. Was not communicating correctly. And the alarms that we found out recently from the past supervisor was turned all off. So it never notified us what was going on. So this morning, obviously the water department found it. Crucially, they started turning on wells manually. Some of the SCADA was telling the water department that some of the wells were on, but they weren't on. So we're doing our best to get it caught up. And so just to keep you guys informed, tomorrow hopefully everything should be back to normal. I will send an email out in the morning once I get an update from Hugo. So
You said it's at 26 feet. What does it normally?
it normally runs about 30, and then it kicks into Skyline. Since we drained both tanks, it's taking a little bit longer. Obviously, in the morning, everybody uses a lot of water. That's why everybody's pressure's been so low. Where we're trying to get everything kicked on. Some kicked on, some didn't. We went back or Hugo and his team went back and tried to get everything kicked on. We finally got everything kicked on right now. So, like I said, once Grandview fills up, the booster pump will kick on and it'll start filling up Skyline. So,
Thank you for the report.
okay.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Yo,
night.
have a good night, Hector.
Thank you, Hector.
Okay, does that allow us to move into D, discussion of city manager search?
Right. I have a couple options as it relates to an executive search for a permanent city manager. It's about a 4-month process to do that. And so the previous contract that we had in the last city manager search, Colin Basinger, that contract was for $32,000, which I was like stunned because that's about double what the normal rate is. And from that, they sounds like they did almost a national search. They brought in a candidate from Florida, one from a small town in Oregon, and then the previous city manager. That contract had a 1-year guarantee that if that person didn't continue with the city, that person was actually hired for 14 months, but 5 of those months were on administrative leave. So that kind of pushed it back within the 1-year category. So they sent a memo saying that they will honor their 1-year guarantee. However, that's not totally free. Additional expenses related to that will bring that search out to about $12,000. The other option is a firm, the firm that I currently work for, GMP. And GMP is really the Northwest blue chip gold standard for Northwest searches. Company previously known as Prothman was the company that just about every city uses as it relates to Northwest searches. There was a split in the family, and one family member got the company, and the other family member had to start all over again, which is what GMP is. And their fee cost is $18,500. It would be my recommendation, since we've already paid $32,000 and plus another $12,000, to just go ahead and utilize a Northwest guided company that really is an expert in reaching out to Northwest applicants. I don't believe that this position here, at least it's my opinion, should call for a national search. I just think that this is more of a local search, Northwest search, and I would recommend that we select somebody that has a mailing list, a contact list, a reputation, and the ability to work much more closely by being here in the Northwest. So I'm guessing I'm just going out to for guidance as to what options you might want to consider for that. Or any questions you might have.
What was the first one? That's 12,000?
Colin Basinger. I did send you all an email, because earlier in the year, Counselor Galvan, myself, and I forgot who the third person was. That was it Julia? Counselor Hart?
Yeah.
Or sorry, Deputy Mayor Hart. We were part of a smaller committee trying to figure out our options. We didn't delve too far into anything else other than setting ourselves up for people that we can, or consulting firms that we could probably reach out to. And then I think during the time, correct me if I'm wrong, Counselor Galvan, there was a couple like council member, like membership hubs that we were gonna try to reach out to because we wanted someone in quickly. And they had like an information hub. I forgot who those were with. I think you reached out to one and Counselor or Deputy Mayor Hart reached out to another. Anyways, all that to say is that Prothman came into the picture and then we ended up going with the applications that Prothman sent in through Julie Norton at the time, who is our then attorney, city attorney. So I did send over Colin Basinger. We didn't contact other than that initial email that I forwarded to all of you all, just as an FYI, letting you all know that I had reached out and we had asked what they would still honor. They sent a very detailed email letting us know what that was and the fees. And I believe it was somewhere around 11,000, 7 to 11,000, correct me. I just sent it earlier today. In my opinion, I would rather start with them. I don't think I would want to rely on Prothman again if we have if this firm has already been consulting and at least understands, given the last time around, what we're searching for. And I do believe it should be a national search. I think we've gotten ourselves in trouble with having people that have connections with other people. And as you stated, Pat, it's not perceived well. And I mean, I also made the argument for having, I think it was the city clerk position and it being local, and I was argued against it. So I'm a firm believer that there should be a national search. Go ahead.
And not only because they're cheaper, but I also agree that we should go with Colin Basinger. You know, yeah, they'll bring us candidates from nationwide, but just like before, they can also bring us, you know, candidates from the Northwest. I wish maybe we could even, I don't know, do it a different way. I think the city of Othello was handling it themselves, you know, advertising and putting it out there. I'm guessing they were using the HR department, but with Colin Basinger already, you know, knowing what we've had before and some of our needs, I know that, you know, part of the process is for them to come in and they interview each of us as a counselor to see what we envision in a city manager, and they use some of that information to go out there and get us candidates. So, you know, I'm good with Colin Basinger, and just, you know, I'll do more due diligence going forward.
It's 7 to 12K, just to clarify, 7 to 12,000. Fingers crossed it's closer to the lower amount.
So I guess like my only question, something that did stand out to me from GMP was that their warranty is extended an additional 6 months more than Colin Basinger. And so like for GMP, they were offering a year and a half in case like the city manager doesn't work. And I know, Colin, that they offer just 12 months. So I guess my question is, since they will be giving us, honoring the fact that we don't have a city manager and giving us that discounted rate, will the warranty be extended to this new city manager, being that it's already been used for this for this one that we're about to receive?
That's a good question for them. I think that we can turn around and ask them. This was the only email that we sent to them, so we can pick up just a broader conversation with them. So I don't know if that's them coming in and speaking to the council.
Yeah.
And then we can have some of these questions answered. Those would be next steps, and maybe we can direct Pat to initiate a conversation with them. Again, I haven't talked to them since that email that I sent to y'all. I forgot what date it was that I even sent. It was early February.
And I just asked because if not, then that's going to be very telling as well.
Okay.
Well, for whatever value, GMP did bring you me. And I'd like to believe that that's of some value. So they have a good candidate pool. But that's only my personal opinion. I had reached out to them and got their former contract, and they sent me an email saying that they would honor that, and included that memo that they had sent to the mayor here previously in the year. So it's up to you. You know, it's your city guy. It's your decision for the future. I have a long history with this company, maybe 2 decades worth of history. So I'm, naturally very supportive of the work that they've done in other cities that I have worked in.
Go ahead, Councilor Dolan.
I'd like to echo what our interim city manager just said. I think the value is already in the works there. We've got a clerk on the way. We've got a new attorney. I mean, I think he's putting the right people in place. I would look forward to what they could provide and maybe do a little deeper dive on the vetting, but I think GMP might be the way to go.
I'm more leaning towards the Colin Benzinger, is that how you say it?
Basinger. Basinger, I think that's what.
Yeah, basing.
Right?
Benzinger. Especially, I know that, budget's almost done and stuff, but, doesn't mean just because we have the money, possibly we could just go wild.
Did Julia log off?
And it's not
No,
a lot
no.
of a difference, but a little bit.
Oh, okay.
No, Madam
I
Mayor,
didn't see you there.
no, it's okay.
That's okay, I'm done.
Okay, I was just waiting my turn. But I think that in as much as the city has worked with the Colin Basinger many times before. They've been, I think, they've helped us in the past, and they do provide a good good search for us. And it's up to us to choose the right one that's going to match what we need. But I think that in as much as they have offered us sorry, that year grace, that if the one didn't work out, that they would help us find another one with the reduced price there. So I'm in favor of going with the Colin Basinger group.
I am interested to just kind of just get that feedback. I would like to know if they will honor that to the new city manager that we find. And I think with that information, then I'll have more of a idea where I'm leaning towards.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like majority is directing Pat to reach out to Colin Basinger and initiate a conversation.
I would say so.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
that's good. I can do that.
That's it.
Just
Thumbs
give
up.
you options.
Thumbs up there.
All right. Okay. There's nothing else around that discussion. That brings us down to our last item, which is executive session. Y'all ready?
Yes. I got it.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have the RCW?
Can we take like a 2-minute break? I'm just gonna.
Yeah, if you all would
like
like
10
a
minutes.
2-minute.
I need to.
Did you
Five
want
minutes
me
is
in there?
No,
Okay.
Okay.
thank you,
Council,
Monica. No, you're good.
No problem. I started working at 3:30 your guys' time this morning, so I'm working on 18 hours of work today. I'm gonna go to bed now.
Okay, thank you, Monica.
All right, thank you.
Have a good night, Monica.
Thank
We're
you.
gonna go ahead and recess for 5 minutes so we can go ahead and convene at 9:26. There we go. Okay. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and recess into executive session. Citing RCW 42.30.110 subsection 1G to evaluate the qualification of an applicant for public employment or to review the performance of a public employee. We should be in executive session for about 15 minutes. No, nobody will miss you tonight. Out there in the parking lot.
Good. Okay.
Okay, we are now back from executive session. No action will be taken. And if there is no objection from
No
council,
objection? Nope.
I will go ahead and adjourn. Is there any objection?
No objection.
Okay, we are now closing down the meeting at 10:13.